You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Hello everybody and welcome to Phoenix 92.5 FM, the Wrestling Rewind.com and nerdtoknowmedia.com, the True Betting channel, and anywhere else podcasts can be found. My name is Darrow O'Connor. Welcome to the show, the Wrestling Rewind, the only podcast by wrestling fans who do not hate wrestling. Tonight might be a bit of a different story. The result of Martin, ladies and gentlemen, this is why you shouldn't drink and do podcasts, particularly when one of your co-hosts is sober. As I was. So Martin doesn't remember how this happened. But basically last week he said, I wish they did an ECW pay-per-view by people who ran ECW. And I was like, well, Martin, I have just a show for you. And it is the topic of this train wreck.
I had forgotten that little tidbit. And whenever I woke up the next day and saw my text from Dara that we were doing TNA show, I actually got kind of excited because I always think I haven't seen much TNA, but I always, when I think of TNA, I think of the whole, obviously the backstage nonsense and the politicking and the ridiculous booking and the stuff around Dixie Carter and all that, but also great raw talent, great in-ring action. So I was genuinely looking forward to it. And then I turned the pay-per-view on and Tommy Dreamer and Rhino are looking at me and I'm just very confused.
So he walked himself into it and I will always oblige. So I was like, okay, Martin, even drunk Martin, I will show you.
You can be assured that if you are on the verge of doing something stupid, Dara will absolutely let you.
I will not stop you. I will not. I will be like, okay, that is totally fair. And I've also been looking for an excuse to talk about Hardcore Justice 2010 for a very long time. It is so a couple of years ago there was a pay-per-view. There was a post pay-per-view show on the place where I used to work, Restview. Shout out to Restview. And it was on their network, and they did a post show of this, and it's the funniest thing I've ever heard ever. And if anyone who did listen, who followed this over, you know what I'm talking about. So I was like, right, I have to watch this at some point. And when Martin brought it up, I'm like, okay, I actually have just the thing for this for this wish, so I can fulfill it. But that's what we're going to cover this week. It's going to be Hardcore Justice 2010. My name is Darrow O'Connor, of course, and I'm joined. You've already heard him. You know him. You love him. 1-0, Mr. Martin Hardy. How are things, Martin?
Bush, grand Dara, like battering away at the Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and it's kind of hard to remember a time in life before Tears of the Kingdom.
But before we get into Hardcore Justice, your opponent who keeps dodging you,
Out Punker,
has made news yet again. And I want to go back a couple of weeks. Where you laid out this wonderful angle. It's a brilliant angle, Martin. Would have made money for everybody. Everyone had a good time. Money fights galore. And then I said, but Punk. And you were like, you're right, Dara.
Oh yeah, there's no, me and you could sit here and we can have the best logical conversation in the world with perfect, impenetrable rationality, but Punk.
Alas, AEW have announced the new show.
Actually looks class.
June 17th, Collision. It looks just like Nitro. They even stole the font.
Love the yeah.
I know, but it's if I was WWE, I'd be like cease and desist. This is just Nitro. This is our cut into that IP. Anyway, That
I'd go.
aside,
That's fine. Give us Cody Rhodes back.
that aside, news broke. So this comes from the Bleacher Report by way of Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select. CM Punk was again the most buzzed about professional wrestler on the internet on Wednesday when AEW announced on June 17th the debut of Collision. Conspicuous by his absence from marketing material was the Best in the World, who was expected to be a centerpiece of the Saturday Night brand. It was reported that while it hasn't been confirmed that anything got to do with Punk's absence from Collision was announcement or not is AEW's stance on a steal. There is a quote. So, quote, Fightful was told that there was a meeting this week between AEW and Punk, and it was extended to Punk that A Steel would have the ability to work with the company and directly with Punk. However, it was made clear that A Steel would not be able to be at AEW television. We haven't learned specifically how Punk has reacted to this outside of him not being in agreement with it. So,
hold on though. The plot actually thickens.
okay,
It turns out that Ace Steel is employed by AEW and has been for the past few months, but the condition is that he is a sort of an off-site employee. He doesn't go to shows or anything. And so he is already working with AEW, but the confusion came from whenever they started with Collision, Punk and Steel were under the impression that this would be him coming back, whereas everyone else was under the impression that no, you're fine where you are.
Jesus.
So the most recent report I heard was that there's a couple of reasons why Punk wasn't in the promotional stuff. Apparently, he wants his return to be more like do you know the First Dance?
Yeah.
You know but nobody ever said Punk was going to be there.
Yeah.
It was just heavily alluded to, and it was actually a brilliant marketing thing because it built up like a real fervor when they wouldn't confirm it.
Yeah.
So apparently that played more into why he wasn't on the Collision promotional material. But there's no question this Ace Steel stuff has definitely thrown a kind of a spanner into the works. Do
you think Ace Steel has like something on Punk?
Oh, you mean like who was it last week we said has pictures of Vince in bed with Sean?
Oh God, who was it? Oh, I can't remember offhand, but it was somebody.
Can't remember. Yeah, there's definitely something.
I forgot about that.
Punk does not strike me as the kind of guy who likes anyone except his wife and his dog. You know, so there's obviously something there. But do you know what I can't wait for?
Well,
I can't wait for Punk to be back in AEW, back wrestling, back doing angles, back doing matches, so we can stop goddamn talking about him. This man gets talked about more when he is not wrestling. It drives me mad.
Do you think maybe that's the whole point of it?
But he's not like, you don't come back to wrestling at that age when your money's made unless you actually love it, you know?
Yeah, but he probably loves it for like a little while, and then he's like, oh.
He does strike me as being
You know,
incredibly fickle.
It's like, oh, this again. Oh, this was grand for like 5 minutes. What they should do is, right, if I was Punk, well, one, I mean, AJ Lee's his wife, come on, like.
No.
Why would you even bother? Like, would you bother do anything else?
The first thing you'd do if you were Punk is fight me.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. You have to get that out of the way, obviously. But I mean, look, if I was Punk, I'd be like, I wouldn't do anything else because, you know, AJ Lee's his wife, and how could you? But that aside,
happy at home.
Yeah, happy at home. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. I think.
Although I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I could perform to my full ability with Larry looking at me.
But
he's not a pretty dog.
No, he's a very ugly dog.
Would be off-putting.
But my point would be, You know, if I were Punk in this situation, all joking aside, look, just be upfront with a contract like The Undertaker had, or like Goldberg had, or, you know, like AEW's version of a Legends contract, where it's like, right, you're only going to work these dates. Brock Lesnar deal. You're going to do these dates. That's it. There you go.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, on the one hand, it's like, I think that's what he wants, but doesn't want to say that that's what he wants. He wants to say,
Darren,
one of the boys or whatever. Come on.
I was literally.
Were you?
Literally what I was going to say. He wants that contract, but he
does
doesn't want to say he wants that contract.
Again, folks, we don't plan this out at all.
Barely. Here, I was watching the election stuff all day. I barely even remembered to watch the pay-per-view. So.
We were talking nonsense we were talking about martial arts for like half an hour before we recorded, guys. We were, you know.
No, 100%. I think he wants the big prima donna contract.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to say it.
Want to be seen as a prima donna.
So here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do, right? We're going to pull up a chair, turn it backwards around, right? Sit down and go, Tony, this is for you, right? Here's what you do. This is free. You can have this one. You don't need to pay me. Go to Punk. Listen.
Tony, throw us an X-Pac euro.
Fair enough, an X-Pac euro. You're going to work these dates. It's going to be super limited. It's going to be, you know, basically around what Brock Lesnar works, you know. No television, maybe one big television match and the pay-per-views. And that's it. 6 to 12 dates a year. There you go. You might have one run. And then that's it. I mean, that's what he wants. That is genuinely what the man wants. He does not want to show up every week.
He'd actually be better off doing that. Not just for himself, but I'm actually heartbroken for Tony Khan, because Tony Khan loves wrestling. Like he genuinely loves it. And whatever you think of AEW, it's refreshing to have a booker of a major promotion who doesn't actively hate the sport.
You see,
so it breaks my heart when Tony Khan. No, it breaks my heart when Tony Khan is out there and he's doing, like, he's really trying his best to put on these shows, and he's trying to give, like, he gives people really good contracts. He doesn't release people. He gives people time off if they're hurt, and these wrestlers who are so jaded and so used to an industry that is unfair because of the way McMahon and Nash and Hogan and all have built it, and Khan is the one who's getting screwed over.
You see, so skipping ahead a little bit, at the end of the pay-per-view, which we're going to watch, there's a lady called Dixie Carter. And she also did very much the same thing. And, yeah, I mean, every time someone says that, I just get like, you want this show actually is why I'm so hesitant with anyone like that. It's like when you end up being a mark too much, and you can't understand that you're being worked. That's the problem. And with Tony Khan, yeah, I feel sorry for him because he probably is being worked, definitely by Punk. But he needs,
the thing was, he wanted to end the culture of people working people, wrestlers working bookers, bookers working wrestlers. He wanted to end.
Yeah, and he goes for the one person who is like king of that.
Listen, we have both made perfectly salient points. But Punk. That's exactly it. It's like, you know, eventually,
he is the most like fascinating person not in wrestling history, but I mean, definitely up there. Not for his in-ring work. His in-ring work, it's pretty good. Some of it's pretty terrible. It's more for the fact that it's like, wow, he can just, like, he is so captivating and stuff like that. But you're like,
yeah,
you're the most wrestler ever, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Where it's like, even when you're not working, you're still working. And I think it just takes, you know, a case where if Tony Khan is sitting there and he's like, right, how do we get him back? You give him what he actually wants. And I don't even think Punk really knows that's what he wants, because he probably has worked himself to believe in, I'm one of the boys, and I'm not like The Rock. I'm not like, no, you are. Like, this is exactly what you want, you know? And I think that would be probably the way around this. And you know what's going to happen eventually, Martin? Mark my words. That exact thing will happen. I know this show was supposed to be built around Punk, and that's what the reports were saying, that Collision is supposed to be Punk's show. There's no way that's happening. There's no way that's happening.
Here's the thing. even if Punk does decide to pick up his ball and go home, I'm still super hyped for Collision because AEW's roster is massive and Rampage has not worked out.
No.
So they need another show that's live, that's prime time, that's 2 hours. And I like, honest God, obviously you'd rather Punk there. He's a big name and he'll draw eyes. But if he's not, they more than have the talent to easily run 2 excellent pro wrestling shows.
What I will say is once they're completely different. And what I mean by that is what, like with SmackDown and Raw, with the brand split, they were different in the bad way, as we've kind of covered through Cyber Sunday, right? Where you can see the cracks. You really can. And what I mean is AEW has the advantage of coming after that, but also being like, right, we actually have a really good roster here. Let's make a good show that feels different without it feeling weak, without it feeling like there's a B show. Collision cannot feel like a B show. It has to be up there. Like you have to want to watch. What's the main show? Dynamite? Yeah, Dynamite. You have to want to watch Dynamite, and you have to want to watch Collision at the same level for different reasons. Not just I watch one, don't pick that's kind of how they have to go at it. They have to be their own competition, which WWE were never actually able to do because Vince inherently didn't like that. You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, for years, like it's weird to think of it now because now technically SmackDown is the bigger show.
Yeah.
But for years, SmackDown was just a Raw highlights show.
Absolutely. And but here's the thing, SmackDown, for me, SmackDown was always the show where you'd watch for wrestling. You know, it would always be the better show. But Raw's the one that everybody would go to because it was Raw. And it's funny because Raw was supposed to be Nitro, you know, initially. They were supposed to get rid of Raw and it'd just be SmackDown and Nitro, which, I mean, actually would have been fine. And that's what Collision really needs to be. It needs to be that different side of AEW. Maybe it's, you know, better produced. Maybe the story is a bit deeper. Maybe it's a bit more hardcore. Maybe it's a bit more flippy dippy. Maybe it's a bit more indorific. Doesn't really matter. Once it's something different.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, and I know this is going to sound superficial. The first thing they need is a completely different set.
Yes.
It can't be Dynamite with a different ring apron.
I agree. And I don't think that's one of the things
that doomed Rampage.
Man, I don't think that's superficial. I think that's very important. I mean, look, AEW benefits from being the pressure release valve for a lot of things that people want WWE to be. And you know, I mean, Tony Khan has been able to tap into that and been able to, you know, make $1 million business out of it. But this is one of the things. It's like people like real sets. Yeah, it's probably more expensive. Yeah, it's probably a pain in the ass to carry around. But that's what people want. Give the people what they want, Tony. And give Punk his contract. You know that will fix it. I tell you what. Tony, give Martin all access passes to AEW.
And a review copy of Fight Forever.
It looks like a PS2 game though, dude.
It looks so bad. I'm
so
hyped for it because it reminds me of No Mercy, the best wrestling game ever.
It looks so bad, man.
But I don't see. I'm not into like hyper realistic graphics. I don't want a wrestling simulator. Like, I want a wrestling game. And for me, No Mercy was the perfect mix of sim and arcade. And all I have wanted for, what age am I now? All I've wanted for 20 years is an updated No Mercy. And if that is what this is, I am on board.
I need to, like, stop you there for a second. The best wrestling game ever produced is Wrestling Empire.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best one, man.
How are you getting on with it?
I love it. I mean, you can hit somebody with an N64. People can die randomly. You can kill someone in the ring. You know, you can do everything. It's the best wrestling ever.
I imagine an N64 would hurt.
No, they're very light.
I don't know. I think
I have one.
PlayStation would fall apart.
No, PlayStation. No. I'll tell you what would hurt though. The OG Xbox.
Oh my God! Kill someone.
Actually kill someone with that. Yeah, absolutely would. No, I mean, look, Wrestling Empire. literally is where it's at, folks. I mean, you can have exploding barbed wire death matches, you can have cage matches. The entire ring can be filled. Look, we talked about it on the show already.
You love Wrestling Empire.
Do.
Wrestling Empire doesn't have AAA next gen graphics.
There's a difference, though.
No,
there's a difference, though. There's a difference, though. It gives me full customization. And the thing about it is, it's not really. And look, it's on the Switch, man. The poor thing is struggling to run it as it is. You push it anymore, it's going to go on fire. So
the fact that the Switch can run Tears of the Kingdom baffles me.
Yeah.
Like, it's astounding.
You know, more wrestling games need to have the ability to change the ropes with barbed wire.
Well, there you go. That's on Fight Forever.
See, I wouldn't bring attention to that.
Why?
Because of how bad it was on TV. They should be like, oh
no. But this is the thing. The barbed wire exploding match was phenomenal. It was fantastic until the last 3 seconds.
Everybody remembers the end, though.
And everybody, I 100% agree with you.
You know,
everybody remembers the 3 seconds. But that match up until those 3 seconds was phenomenal. Frankly, do you know what I'd do if I was Tony? I'd go back and I'd edit it. I'd bring in someone from Hollywood to make the ring go.
You know what I'd do if I was Tony? I'd do the match again properly.
Yeah.
Just to kind of wipe that memory away and like redeem himself. But like, right, let's get some like indie-rific lads who just like to blade each other, you know. And then there you go. Just have that match. Because that's what TNA did. You know?
And you know, if you're going to have an exploding ring match with a proper exploding ring, the only place you could do it would be in a big outdoor arena.
Yeah.
An outdoor arena like Wembley.
Or Japan.
Yeah, but Wembley's coming up and that's the one I'm going to. So.
Yeah, but they're not going to do that. I mean, you know, they'd be arrested for murder. Attempted murder. But speaking of TNA, we're going to hop in our time machine, Martin.
Bang.
And we're going to go not too far away, not too far in the past. Only, 13 years ago? 13 years ago.
Days of 2010.
Exactly. To Orlando, Florida. So, nice sunny Orlando, Florida. To the Impact Zone, where I had the pleasure of actually being once. Actually, I was there once, but I'm on like 9 episodes of Impact, and my dad is randomly in one episode of Impact like 2 years later. Fun fact, because when the crowd would be less, they would just reuse footage. So there you go. There's some trivia for you. I actually really like the Impact Zone. The Impact Zone is like the coolest place in the world. It really was.
We're not just going to the Impact Zone. We're going to the Extreme Impact Zone.
Oh God, yeah. So we're going to the Extreme Impact Zone, and what makes it extreme? It has this horrible hue of blue through the entire show.
What was that about?
I don't know, but it nearly gave me astigmatism because it was horrific. It was horrific.
I was just so and to be honest, my eyes got used to it like fairly quickly, so I wasn't like annoyed or anything by it. I was just baffled.
Yeah.
I want to know the thought process where they're like, all right, guys, the arena's set up, ring's good, lighting's good, production's good, everything's ready. Right. All we need, see the 2 main spotlights lighting up the ring, get a blue filter over them, and we're good to go. I don't understand the thought process.
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's there through the entire show except for the last couple of seconds. At the entranceway, there's some barbed wire for some reason. It looks like they've robbed an industrial center. Now, okay, so before we get into it, because you know we are going to get into it. August 8th, 2010. The tagline is "The Last Stand," and obviously the whole point of this was so Tommy Dreamer could say goodbye to ECW, even though they had said goodbye to ECW a couple of years, 4 years ago at this point, and 5 years ago, One Night Stand. But you know. Now remember, this is an ECW tribute show that they're not allowed to refer to ECW as ECW because WWE owns ECW.
And they can't refer to anything that's in any, like even the names of guys whose names are trademarked by WWE at this stage, but basically anything that refers to ECW in any way is completely off limits. So it's actually one of the great, or one of the few things you can really enjoy in the show. Be a great drinking game is take a shot every time someone awkwardly words their way around ECW.
And Taz is the worst for it because he will just like say their actual ECW name or will say ECW, and you're like, oh my god. So it's fun. Another drinking game is every time someone comes out with a weird name that is their real name, like PJ Polacco is just incredible.
I tell you what, my favorite of all of them.
It's just so fun.
My favorite of all of them was when Balls Mahoney came out as Balls Cajoney.
Oh yeah, or Cajones.
Cajoney, sorry, that's what it was.
Oh my god, it's terrible. Like terrible.
But come here, before we get into the show, right? Here's what really annoyed me about this. So, like I said, I thought I was getting to watch a TNA show. I didn't realize I was going to be watching ECW tribute show.
And this is your fault.
This is my fault.
I 100% asked for this.
I accept responsibility.
You genuinely said, I wish ECW did an ECW show, and I'm like, oh.
And I have paid my penance, I assure you.
And here's the thing, folks. This show is free on YouTube on Impact's channel. You don't have to pay for this because go watch it. So anything we're going to say, folks, if you think, they're being a bit harsh on this, or not. And I was reading through the comments, and I don't understand the comments that people thought this was great. It's like, what were you watching?
I mean, there's going to be a big element of nostalgia to any of this stuff. But here's the thing that really annoyed me. So this was actually only turned into an ECW tribute show the week before the pay-per-view. So the pay-per-view is actually called Hard Justice. It was always called Hard Justice, right?
Yes.
Less than a week. It was 4 days before Hard Justice was due to come out. It was changed to Hardcore Justice, and it was turned into an ECW tribute show. What we would have gotten instead is Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles in a retirement match.
Yep.
The Motor City Machine Guns versus Beer Money in a 2 out of 3 falls tag team match.
Yep.
And Rob Van Dam versus Abyss in a world heavyweight ladder match. Like, that sounds like a pay-per-view I want to watch.
So that is actually called The Whole Effing Show, and it's the next episode of Impact. So they actually did do the show. The next episode of Impact. Yeah, but
on an episode so I'm looking at that here, and I mean, like 4-minute match, 3-minute match, 4-minute match, 6-minute match. Like it's not a pay-per-view. Like a pay-per-view would have had time to really let some of this stuff breathe.
Well, look, man, we had to have the quality that was Too Cool Scorpio and C.W. Anderson. And the classic appearance of the Gangsters. And I mean, you couldn't get New Jack.
That wasn't a match.
New Jack, he was in so in demand at this point that they had to book him.
What would your life be without Stevie Richards, accompanied by the fake Blue World Order fighting PJ Polacco?
How dare you? They were called BW 2.0.
BW 2.0.
And he wasn't a blue meanie. It was Blue Tilly.
Blue Tilly. But like, if you're gonna go that silly, why not go to why not call him the Blue Beanie?
Why do this at all? I mean,
we're well beyond that. Like, why do this at all? Goes for the whole show.
Like, actually, Dreamer that removed from reality that he's like, I need to do this. It's like, you had one night stand. You had one night stand, and it was actually great.
One Night Stand was genuinely phenomenal, right? But I kind of understand Dreamer's motivations for wanting to do this.
Hold that thought. So I learned something this week about Tommy Dreamer. Do you want to hear it?
Go for it.
So, folks, this is true. This actually happened. This is a real thing. This is not, so anyone on the radio as well, this is not a bit. It's not comedy. This is actually a thing that happened. So Tommy Dreamer in 2001 was apparently going to buy a ticket for WrestleMania 17 and kill Paul Heyman and then unalive himself. No,
Jesus.
seriously. He said he was in a very dark place, and he was so annoyed that he turned down deals to go to WCW. And then when Paul Heyman showed up in WWE, he's like, "Oh my God, he's taking money from WWE the whole time." So his plan was to buy a ticket, walk over, and then do his pose and unalive himself. Until Jim Ross rang him and said, "Listen, it will all work out," and that's why it didn't happen.
That'd be
That's
a bit
true.
like
You can
the,
look that up, folks. I learned that today. I haven't been able to look at Tommy Dreamer since. I'm like, oh my God, that's very dark, Tommy.
That's
Holy
mental. That'd be a bit like the barbed wire death match. You know, great match with a terrible ending. Everybody be like, "Oh my God, WrestleMania X7, best pay-per-view ever." Yeah, but isn't that where Tommy Dreamer shot himself in front of 50,000 people?
But also, it would be like everyone would think it was an angle,
Yeah.
and they would. And then you're
Yeah,
like, oh, it's
actually,
not an angle. You know?
Tommy Dreamer, Attitude Era, Tommy Dreamer showing up to kill Paul Heyman. Yeah, you would 100% think that's an angle.
And you wouldn't be able to convince other people. If it did happen, people would be like, oh, that was an angle though. It's like, no.
People would be at Heyman's funeral going to work.
It's a
Work.
sorry, go on. I introduced.
PW Insider had a look in the coffin. There's nothing in there. It's just full of ham. So to work.
What's Meltzer saying?
What?
Because you know that's what wrestling fans are like. That's
Meltzer gave the funeral 3 stars, but it would have been 4.5 if it was in the Vatican.
Or if it was in Japan. Sorry, I interrupted your train of thought on Tommy Dreamer. Go on.
So I was just saying, I actually get why Dreamer wanted to do this, because
I don't. Please
tell
me why. Please tell me why. I need to know.
One Night Stand was excellent, right? Absolutely, and it would have been a genuinely perfect goodbye to ECW, but it wasn't the goodbye, because what came after One Night Stand was WWECW, and that absolutely tarnished the legacy. So I can see why, while that was going on, he wanted something different.
Okay, so
I would have done something better, but I can understand the motivation.
Right. How did this make the legacy better?
It, like I said, it didn't. But I can understand the motivation.
You know what this is like, right? This is like you have a lovely car, and it gets a ding, right? And you're like, oh man,
do like a Father Ted trying to.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And you get a little hammer to dig it out, and you just destroy the whole car. And it's like that's what this was. This was them doing the Father Ted thing. And if anyone doesn't know, look that up. They basically get a car and you try to ding it out for a raffle, and they end up destroying the whole car. And that's kind of what this was. It's like, fair enough, right? One Night Stand, the first one was fantastic, genuinely the more authentic ECW than this ever was. The year after, it was okay. A bit too WWE, but still was great. And then WWE, CW had mixed results. Some was good, most of it was bad.
It had a zombie. That was the end of it. Day one, night one, minute one of WWE, CW had a literal zombie walking out. That's the end of it.
Some of it was good, though. Some of it was good, but yeah, I mean, I don't think you understand how high my tolerance for BS is, man. It's quite high. It's quite high. I also did find that apparently 13 years ago, I actually did the preview for this on a radio show I was on at the time. So if I find that, I'll dig it out. I might play it. I'll, at some point during the show, if the quality's good. I haven't actually listened to it yet, but apparently I did pre-review this, so it'll be interesting to see if I was in favor of this or not. I don't think I probably was. I think I was hesitant, but I might have.
I mean, it's like to say, it probably depends how much affection you have for the original ECW. Like if your whole thing is you want to see the gangsters, you want to see the Dudleys, you want to see Raven and Dreamer.
Well, we didn't get to see Dudleys. We got to see Team 3D.
You got to see Team 3D. Yeah.
This is like if you ordered ECW off Wish, but it actually is ECW. That's the sad part. It's not
this is like if you ordered ECW off Wish, but then also said, "Oh, and by the way, Wish, do you mind slapping a blue filter over the top of this for no reason?"
So, like, okay, I don't know if you have this in front of you, but do you want to guess what the attendance was?
Let me see. So I'm only going by having a look at the crowd. It actually did look like a decent crowd. And a packed out ECW show was about 1,500 people.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, we go 1,500.
That's exactly what it was. And you know,
was it actually?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Oh my god!
So, do you know how they actually get people in? How they used to get people into the Impact Zone? How it actually works, or how it worked?
Is it like walking out in the street and going, "Do you want to go to a wrestling show?"
So what happens? Yeah, kind of. So what happens is, right? It's right beside Universal Studios, right? Actually, it's beside the old Nickelodeon studios, in Universal. So, it's up in City Walk, and you go, you know, if anyone's been there.
So they didn't even go to Philadelphia for the.
No, they did it. They did it in like Universal Studios, literally beside Nickelodeon. God. So when I went there, me and my dad showed up, and we just waited outside, and there were a couple of people who always go. There's one lad who went to everything, and he was a bit, you know, he went to all the shows. So take from that what you will. He was very into it, and we went to it. And, you know, they do block tapings, and the block tapings would be like 6 hours. And pay-per-views, they would do them. They do them live, so it would be kind of a little bit different, but it'd be the same kind of idea. So what they do is either you'd line up. None of this was ticketed, so nobody paid in ever to the Impact Zone. So none of it would be ticketed. You'd show up, you'd get your spot, and that'd be it.
Yeah.
Or, so if they couldn't fill it, they'd go into the theme park, and they'd hang outside and bring bus loads of people from the theme park who may or may not have been wrestling. Because the people who wait outside were actual wrestling fans. The people who they pulled from, you know, Men in Black and, you know,
I kind of love that.
And Back to the Future.
I kind of love that. It's like, hey, do you want to go see a wrestling show? Oh, I used to watch wrestling. You mean like Hulk Hogan? Yeah, just like that.
And that's why the crowd is so weird, because there are some proper ECW fans. Like, okay, one night stand, the tickets were like $1,500, right? So actual real wrestling fans really showed up to really be invested. Some of these fans were not that. They were just random people. And that's why halfway through one of the shows, or one of the matches, they have a lightsaber match.
Yeah. How how are we on your BS tolerance meter at this stage?
Oh, I mean, but no, I just need to give context to why the crowd is so weird, because there is probably a large percentage of those people who were just on Back to the Future or something else, and they were just whisked away on a bus and ended up there. That is a very real possibility. That's what happened, because not everyone there was a wrestling fan, and a lot of them had no idea what was going on.
It reminds me a wee bit. So WCW used to tape shows at Universal Studios.
No, they used to tape at MGM Studios.
Oh, MGM. Sorry, MGM Studios, right? And yeah, they would get a lot of people in there who weren't wrestling fans, and most of them were just so confused. So they would have literal signs up, like obviously out of the shot of the camera, saying boo and cheer. So like there was noise, but whenever it came to storylines, people couldn't follow it. And then whenever someone like Cactus Jack came out, they just had no clue what the hell was going on.
Yeah, no, and that's pretty much like, I'll be honest with you, like in my experience of the Impact Zone, it was great because like Jeremy Borash was actually really good at the whole hyping up the crowd thing. And then they'd have Mike Tenay obviously doing commentary, so you wouldn't hear that. But they have Don West coming out and like selling stuff. You know, that was his thing. He'd just be at the merch stand selling things and then doing deals and that. But it was actually a really good time. Unfortunately, with this, the matches weren't good. So it was supposed to be a reverence to this thing that that a vast majority of that crowd had no idea what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And that's why the crowd is so... It's so weird, because there's a certain percentage that are like, oh yeah, but a lot of ECW fans were not going to travel from Philadelphia to Florida. That's not a thing that was going to happen.
The other thing is like the matches. Okay, most of them weren't good. None of them were actually. None of it was like a really bad match, but the booking and positioning of them was very strange. So you're having this whole ECW extreme thing, but then a lot of the matches weren't actually extreme. And the other thing is like, so the opening match, right? Like the pay-per-view opens with what's actually a pretty good opening package about ECW, especially considering they can't use any footage from ECW, any images from ECW, or the name ECW. They actually did a pretty good opening package, and they got across like this feeling of it being this underground, dangerous blood sport. You never know what's going to happen. Like it was wild, it was unhinged, it was borderline illegal, it was absolute like pirate just lunacy. And then your first match is like a kind of a 6-man comedy with like goofy dancing and stuff. The two didn't mesh, like save that, but for later in the show, because like wrestling shows should be a buffet. You should get to see all types of and there's a great space for comedy and wrestling. Like some of the best matches you'll see are comedy. Like one of my favorite wrestlers is Orange Cassidy. But don't do your awesome blood-soaked intro package and then have the big fat guy dancing.
So to open up the show, there was a very, very good video package. And sorry, I didn't say what the buy rate was. So do you want to guess what the buy rate was?
Oh.
So this came out 4 years later. Because the difference between Impact or TNA at the time and WWE is TNA is not publicly traded, so they don't actually need to disclose anything. They don't need to disclose anything, like ever. Their earnings, it's all there. They're a private company, right? So we found out about, 2012? So 2 years later, what their buy rate was?
Okay, hold on. Let me guess. So ECW tribute show, but it's Impact Wrestling. But Impact had pretty good TV. I would guess 50,000.
8,000.
Jeez.
8,000.
Yeah, but were a lot of people not watching the weekly show even at this stage?
No, 8,000.
Oh my god! So for every person in attendance, 3 people bought the 3 people bought the pay-per-view. So,
yeah, man. I mean that's from cage side seats as well. Yeah. So not good. Not good. And at the moment on YouTube, it has 2,600 likes, which I mean is quite good. And the views the view count is 172,000 views. So I mean, that's good. That's a lot better.
I'll tell you the other thing as well. ECW suffers a wee bit from Undertaker syndrome, in that ECW looks great in video packages, but watching it week to week and pay-per-views and stuff like that can be a bit of a slog sometimes. It was very much of its time.
Yeah.
Late 90s, early 90s, extreme, bloody, just like complete antidote to WWF and WCW and blah blah. Like ECW was definitely important, was definitely unique, definitely had its fan base. Wasn't actually all that great,
No, I mean that's fair. That's fair. Like I think the best. Funny enough, actually, and this is probably going to be kind of controversial. I'm going to say it anyway because we don't shy away from that on this show.
Especially not if I've had a few pints.
No. One Night Stand 2005 is the best distilled version of ECW that's ever existed. I think it's the most focused point of ECW, and it was done by WWE.
Yeah. No, man, that's
and I think that's really fair. It's like,
that's fair, yeah.
you know, I think if you want to sell someone an ECW or what it was, that's the best distillation of it, because it's like, it's focused, it's clear, it's clean, it has good production values, not too much, it feels authentic, and the crowd are super into it. Here, there's no focus. As I said, they might have been on Back to the Future. They might have been just whisked away to watch these people who have probably not been on TV in 10 years. Under a blue light.
Like, even at its height, I imagine ECW is an amazing live experience. Like, to be there would be just incredible. And I can see, if you lived in Philadelphia, how you would become a diehard ECW fan and you would be there every week, right?
Yeah.
But watching it like on TV or on pay-per-view, it's a very mixed bag. There's some great talent, there's some not so great talent. The extreme stuff, you know, you become slightly numb to it after a while, and then just depending on what you're used to, like the production values of some of these shows is going to be very difficult for people to get over. Like, if you're a modern WWE fan, I don't think you'd be able to watch an ECW show. It would be like watching a home video.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably the appeal of it. It's kind of like, and again, to make a metal analogy, it's kind of like if you're a metal fan who only listens to Metallica, you know, and then someone hands you like a Mayhem CD or a Dark Throne CD, you know what I mean, a real Dark Throne CD from like 1995.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, black metal's produced a specific way. You're not going to be able to listen to that. You're not going to enjoy it. It's going to be an acquired taste. And what's weird about this show is it doesn't. They shoot it exactly like an Impact show. It looks like it's just in the Impact, 'cause it is. They didn't really do anything to, like, even there's certain things the way. And I don't know how much of this you'd know, Martin, but you'll probably see it when we're looking at Impact proper or TNA. I'm going to use TNA and Impact interchangeably. That's just deal with it, folks. That's the way it's going to be. I can't help it.
I still say the Fed.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. But when you're watching Impact, they shoot it the exact same way as they do here. Even with the, you know, there's a bit at the start of the show where Kid Cash is coming out and they do the TNA dive. And it's like, all right, you guys literally, you know, as you said, 4 days beforehand, they changed this. So there's very few things that were probably changed outside of who they were booking. Yeah. You know?
And to be honest, you really have to give it to the wrestlers. Like, they come up with a whole pay-per-view on the fly, and particularly Rob Van Dam. Like, we'll get to the main event, but he wasn't even supposed to be fighting Sabu.
No.
He was supposed to be fighting someone else, and then that changed like literally the day before.
I guess before we get into this proper, my main question that I wish I had an answer for, and if anyone knows, let us know. Why? Why do this with such short notice? I mean, if you're going to do this at all, which I would argue don't, but why
properly?
Yeah. Why do it rushed? Like, if it's like if someone said, "Oh, you know, we're gonna put on this awesome gig, right? We want everybody to be involved, but it's tomorrow." It's like, okay, assuming you can get everybody who you want, it's not going to be good because the logistics are just not going to come together. I would be like, no, let's do it in like 2 or 3 months and get some build. Because look, here's the thing: no wonder so few people bought it. They had 4 days to promote it.
Yeah,
like, why not do a month when you have time to build to it and put
4 days? So would it even have been on the last episode of Impact?
No.
This is bizarre. Like, is it purely just because like someone had a couple of drinks and was like, "Hey, do you know our Hard Justice pay-per-view? what if we called it like hardcore justice and it was like ECW? Like, is that literally what?
I mean, that makes more sense than any justification I've heard, because it's like it's worse than what WWE did with Armageddon, where they put a phenomenal ladder match and he just announced it on the show. It's nearly as bad, if not worse, than announcing something on the show, because at least it's like, oh, you're making news, and you know,
it's people like, no, lads. Honestly, it's hardcore justice is brilliant. Nobody wants to see Kurt Angle versus AJ Styles. It's all about Stevie Richards and that's what everybody wants. I swear to you, it's not the whiskey talking.
I want PJ Polacco.
I'm telling you, nobody cares about Rob Van Dam and Abyss. Is they want to see the Blue Tilly. It's all about the Blue Tilly.
Oh my god! And I mean, that's literally it. You know, that's literally it. It's just, again, I probably Tommy was like, you know what, this is my only chance to do it. Let's do it. And there's no restraint. You can tell that, like, Paul Heyman, by his absence, he wants nothing to do with this. He won't even show up. He don't even shows up. Like, okay, so for anyone who didn't see it, and look, you're doing yourself look, if you haven't seen this and you're listening on the radio, download the podcast, stop this, go watch it. It's on YouTube. It's free. Go watch it. You have to see it.
Do you know what? It is, even if you don't watch the matches, it is actually worth watching it for. So there's all these wee skits in
this
between.
This is where I'm going.
And it is so funny watching these guys talk the way around ECW.
It really is, and
that's
what I wanted to draw attention to. There's bits where it's just like, the weirdest one is Francine, where she's just feeding a baby.
Oh my god! Yeah. It's like, I'm not a wrestler anymore. I'm a mom.
Yeah, and then there's like random people like AJ Styles who weren't in ECW, or just like randomers who are just not there,
AJ
or have never been there. Huh?
AJ Styles, and big shout out to Dave. Dave, we miss you, because he's a huge AJ Styles fan. AJ Styles is a genius, an actual genius in the ring, right? Yeah. Outside of the ring, he is a literal moron. He waffles his way through some explanation of a kendo stick match he saw, and I am looking at it going, is this lad is he having a stroke? What is he saying?
No, my favorite one is Frankie Kazarian, like, speed reading off to the side. And you're like, this is just, it's so bizarre. And I mean, okay, we're almost up to time here. So what I'm going to do is,
well, folks, no, before we go to time, we need to get this one out, because the actual best one is, there's a real somber moment, and they go, and you know, a lot of the wrestlers who used to be with us aren't with us anymore, and we'd like to dedicate this next segment to the wrestling superstars who have left us since the days of the Philadelphia organization, right? And it's this real somber moment, and you think we're going to get like a in memoriam reel of the different wrestlers who have died, and what comes up on screen is a black screen and white writing that says, TNA would like to pay tribute to all the wrestlers who have died. That's it. That's it. That's all that comes up.
Listen, folks, if you're listening to this and you haven't watched the show yet, this is your time to watch it and come back to the rest of the podcast, where me and Martin are going to be completely uncensored. We're going to be able to say exactly what we want to say. And it's going to be hilarious, because we're trying to be very careful what we say.
we're
on
like
the radio.
We're like the ECW guys trying not to say ECW.
Exactly.
Do you know what, Dara? It was a flipping load of piddle.
It wasn't very good, Mark. It wasn't very good. But folks, we will encourage you to go over and to go to nerdtoknowmedia.com, go to the True Penny channel, or anywhere else, Nerd to Know Media as well, and thewrestlingrewind.com, because all the shows are free. There's 134. This is the 134th one. And yeah, we have a lot more to get through with Hardcore Justice 2010. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
Yes, because you can watch Hardcore Justice for free on YouTube, and we have informed you of that.
Yes.
I think you owe us an X-Pac Euro.
Oh, there you go. Absolutely. There you go. You've earned, not only now do you know that X-Pac was in fact saying make some noise, you know that Hardcore Justice.
In fact, you know what? For today, we'll call it a Tommy Dreamer dollar.
Or sad Tommies. Crying Tommies.
Sad Tommies.
Guys, we're going to be back after this short break here on airtoknowmedia.com, but we'll be back next week on Phoenix 92.5 FM. So if you're checking us out here on FM, what are you doing? Go over to the internet and get the rest of the show. You don't want to miss it. We'll talk to you after this break.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 PM to 6 PM, and then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media radio network.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Alright, everybody. That was a botch. That was a fucking Sin Cara botch. You were watching with some Sin Cara, weren't you?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh,
I saw the different variations and the I was actually really impressed when he would jump into the ring until I found out that there's a wee trampoline there.
And that they always recorded it twice.
Yeah.
Alright, here we go. Alright, Martin, and we're back.
Yo.
Talk about Hardcore Justice 2010. Now, we said before that we have to be a bit restrained. So, now it's going to be extreme.
It's off the hook.
It's off the hook.
Do you remember? So, one of my favorite things was the whole way through this show that they kept talking around ECW. They kept going the Philadelphia company, the Extreme organization. I think they should produce it. Do you remember the old EC fucking W t-shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they should come out with TNA should come out with one that's like the Philadelphia fucking company.
See, here's what's funny, right? I have to say, one thing I love about this show is that they're all using actual cameras because it's just, smartphones weren't really a thing. But also, it was the time, you remember when everybody really, really liked tap-out shirts?
Yeah.
So TNA made a horrible decision to actually lean into that. So all their shirts were these horrific tap-out rip-off Affliction shirts. And AJ Styles is wearing one. So, yeah, they should have produced that shirt, but they were too busy producing knockoff Affliction shirts.
Well, look, here, if nothing else, it's nice to see AJ wearing a shirt that doesn't look like it was covered in jizz. So that's
true. That's true.
So everything in context, Dara.
So as you said, they started off the most hardcore traditional ECW show ever that was going to be better than WWE's version with the FBI versus Kid Cash, Johnny Swinger, and Simon Diamond.
There you go.
This match was not good. It was not bad.
It was all right. It was fine when it was let be a match. And like I was saying earlier, there is room for goofiness and comedy and all that in wrestling. Just not immediately after your black and white, grizzled, extreme intro package.
I think this is a case of maybe too many cooks, where they're like, right, we have this great idea. We finally have the ability to do it. And then you're watching it, and when the bell rings, there's some lads who are in shape, some lads who aren't in shape, some lads who are obviously working, some who aren't. Yeah. All in this fucking blue light.
Look, I'll tell you
and you're like, what am I watching? And the crowd is just so puzzled by the whole thing. there's just this realization when you're looking in the crowd. I mean, I do get distracted now because I am still looking out for signs as well. For our book that we will write eventually. But there's just this look of bemusement among everyone, except for like 6 people who are. There's some lad with a belt. He's there the whole time.
The 6 in the ring.
Yeah, that's the ring. And it's just like, what were you doing? What was your weekend plan before this? That was my question that I had as well. I was like, Kid Cash and Little Guido were probably working, but the other lads, you working in Olive Garden maybe, or taking the kids to the zoo.
The one thing I actually got from this was, Kid Cash must be an excellent wrestler.
Oh, he is, yeah.
It takes a lot of skill to actually stand out in a match like this.
Yeah.
Like to be in a match like this that's so goofy and so, it's not even as bad. It's just it's so run of the mill, but to actually be able to like watch that and go, whoa, look, this is all a load of nonsense, but keep an eye on that Kid Cash guy.
Yeah, and I mean, he was the one that stood out the most, I don't know. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't very good. And I think that's the biggest problem with it. Kid Cash was the standout. The FBI would win. I'm actually amazed that they were able to call them the FBI.
Yeah, because so many of the names here are like they're obviously trademarked by WWE at this stage. But here's the thing: TNA is not a threat to WWE, even at this stage in 2010.
No, never was.
TNA is not a threat. Honest to God, if they had taken some time and they'd said, "Look, TNA now has a load of ECW guys. We'd love to do an ECW tribute show." If they'd went to WWE and said, "Would you mind even just letting us use some of these names, some footage? We'll put courtesy of WWE." Like, even WWE, I think, possibly could have been open to that.
You know what? I think you're right. The fact that they just didn't even think about it and they were too busy trying to... Again, it just comes off as bad planning.
It's like your question earlier. Why did it have to be in 4 days? Why couldn't you build it up? Why couldn't you have it be like all these ECW guys who are like having one last run at greatness and like, why?
You have to hand it to Ric Flair, right? Ric Flair has the right idea. He's like, I'm going to milk this properly and build to it and have a whole event around it. This just seems like they were like, oh.
And then not retire anyway. It's just so sad. It's just really so sad that it's just like, okay. And this match, the crowd were just as confused about it as it was when it started. But the ending actually was quite cool. Kid Cash again absolutely stole the show. You could tell if someone was putting the match together, it was him. And yeah, it ended with an FBI win, which, I mean, the faces had to win, so that was pretty obvious. Sure,
but then,
and like I say there, like a big part of my issue with this isn't even the match itself; it's the placement. If you're going to have that video package, open with an absolute
banger,
murder, like a real take two of the put Too Cold Scorpio and CW Anderson out there and say, lads, go out and kill each other, right?
So after that,
I know that's not what happened.
No, that's not what happened. But what did happen though was, as you said, we kind of talked about it before, was Where Are They Now segments. And it just...
But it was so strange. The Where Are They Now segment, they went through these wrestlers who were well-known ECW personalities, and they had... I don't know why they called it Where Are They Now, because it wasn't even like, what are they up to now? It was just them going, hey guys, I remember being in Philadelphia in the 90s. But like, why wasn't it called like Why aren't you here?
So Pitbull was there and Blue Tilly. And actually, it's funny, on YouTube they call him Blue Meanie. So, Todd Gordon was there as well. But there's a bit when the Pitbull is driving away and he hits a parking cone and just keeps driving. So that was obviously the one take that he did.
See that's ECW.
It is, but it's also like, why didn't it, like, okay, you see the camera production that they have for the Blue Meanie, right? That's the way they should have shot it. They should have shot the whole thing like that.
But some of these the now segments were shot as if the people didn't know they were happening. Like,
yeah, AJ Styles one, which was Angelina Love.
Yeah, when they go up to her while she's feeding the baby.
That was the best one.
That was like, favorite. That looked like they just landed into her house, and she was like, "What? ECW? No, but you can't say ECW. Oh, right. Yeah, I used to be a wrestler, but now I am Extreme Mommy."
So we had a segment with AJ Styles, and then we had a backstage segment with Al Snow, Head, Stevie Richards, and Nova.
Oh,
and it was all of that was bad. Then hold
on. So it was them trying to get this Blue World Order, but not the Blue World Order thing over, and they were joking about it like it was all inside jokes. But what are you talking about? He's practically the real thing. And I kind of got so I got that. What I didn't get was then this guy walked into the room picking his nose. He's got his finger lodged way up there, and he's holding a teddy, and he says, "Hey, I bought all your supplements." And Nova goes, "We're talking about like they're all fake."
See, I can explain that. Do you want me to explain it?
Okay, right. Well, before you do, they go, "They're all fake," and then he walks off, and then Blue Tilly and this guy pick each other's noses. I'm not making this up. They pick each other's noses. So the guy who was picking his nose, do you know who that is?
Who?
Dexter Lumis.
No way.
Swear to God. Dexter Lumis. Isn't that mental? But yes, please explain to me the Nova thing. So
Nova was Simon Dean in WWE, and he had done a gimmick where he was a fitness instructor.
Oh.
And that was an inside joke.
Okay, so here's where I'm wrong, maybe. Maybe they couldn't have gone to WWE and politely asked for the rights, because they do spend a lot of this show taking the piss or attempting to take the piss out of WWE.
Yeah, and I mean they could have done it, but that's what I'm saying to you. It's so low rent. It's like if you had just focused on what you were doing, it would have been fine. But because this was the problem, and it's why when AEW start doing it, it just I get like, because I've already played this game before. I know where this leads. It leads to stuff like this.
Oh God, don't say that to me, Dara.
No, it does. This is what happens. No. And this is my fear with AEW. It's like we're going to be watching ECW in 2020. Wait, has that happened? Has anyone shown up from ECW yet?
In
AEW?
AEW? Well, I mean, Taz is the announcer.
Oh, yeah. See, that really... Oh.
Well, here's okay. So before we go into this match, right? Let's talk about the announce team. I actually really like them. Like,
yeah, so Tenay and Taz are great.
Yeah, they're brilliant. Right? Like, technically, they're probably not like technically the best announce team, but I just find the patter great crack. Yeah. And even when it falls flat, like when Taz says something like, oh, "What is it?" There's one match where this guy. I can't remember the match, but he belts some other guy with something really hard. And Taz's like, "Oh my God, he hit him hard as a really hard thing." Oh, Taz.
So there was one sign that. So I've been trying to map some of the signs, and they're not. For an ECW show, the signs are very tame. There's one when C.W. Anderson is walking out, and it says, "I ditched work for Hardcore Justice."
What time was Hardcore Justice taking place?
It was like on a Sunday.
Is he a priest?
Maybe he works in Denny's.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
So Too Cool Scorpio comes out and does a little dance, and everyone has a good time. And I say, from an actual... I know these guys not only were they on ECW, but they're actually in WWE ECW as well.
Yeah.
So look, they have a right to be there. But again, you're expecting blood. Also, there's a great sign that someone just gave up as well. Vince fears ECW. He doesn't. He bought ECW. Come on, what are you doing? Stop.
Maybe that's why he fears it.
But there's loads of holes put in as well. So I mean, maybe he's like got angry or something. Look, if that sign was in ECW, fair enough. That makes sense. But no, Vince doesn't fear it. He bought it. He funded it, and then he bought it. It's like, anyway, it's the frustration of this show. So look, this was an actual very good match. These lads could always go. They're a little bit older than they were. Like even at this point, they were still, they look like your teachers in school that are like getting up there. But they had a good time, and the match was about 7 minutes, so it wasn't bad. Too Cool Scorpio did pick up the win.
Definitely wasn't bad.
So sorry, these lads are proper bookily.
Yeah,
proper bookily. Like after the definition, like C.W. Anderson and Too Cool Scorpio, even at this point, journeyman wrestlers, lads who never won anything, but can go and will have a good match. And what I think happened is they were probably cracking a beer on a Friday night. Got a call and they're like, "Oh, we need you in the Impact Zone tomorrow," and they had to go and put this match together.
Like it was like you say, it was perfectly fine if it had been, the third match on Raw. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah, Raw 1993.
Yeah,
would have been perfect.
It would have been grand. But absolutely, look, and both of them are getting on a bit at this stage. Too Cold Scorpio, I was very impressed.
Oh yeah, that top rope moonsault thing.
That finisher is why somebody hasn't picked it up and does it today. So it's, for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's moonsault, except he rotates even further in the moonsault and he ends up in a leg drop.
Yeah, it's
position.
like
it's phenomenal.
It's like a moonsault coup de grace.
Yeah, it's excellent. Why somebody hasn't picked it up today, I've no idea.
It's probably really hard to do.
Yeah, but we've guys out here who are doing 450s and like shooting star presses, and like if you can do that, you can do this,
Yeah.
But the fact that he's still going at this level and able to still pull out the big moves and that, like, absolute respect to the guys. But I mean, if we're talking about a big ECW Hardcore Justice reunion pay-per-view, very underwhelming.
We are 42 minutes in and there's not been one hardcore match yet. Next up, we get more of these backstage segments with Madison Rayne, Matt Morgan, and Mr. Kennedy. And it's funny because he wasn't called Mr. Kennedy on this, but Impact has called him Kennedy. It was Mr. Anderson. So whatever's going on with the person who tagged this on YouTube, it's bizarre because he was not called Mr. Kennedy ever on Impact. He was called Mr. Anderson.
2010, is this before or after?
This is after. This is after.
Oh, so this is after the WWE run.
Yeah.
And you would feel bad for the guy.
Everyone here just looks like they they don't want to be there. It's like they were like sat down and said, "This is how you actually do wrestling. This is like, take notes, kids. This is a real wrestling show." And they're trying to justify it, and you're like, right, Matt Morgan, you were never good. Mr. Anderson, like, you have at no point would I have considered you a hardcore wrestler. I think he is wearing like one of the best wrestling t-shirts ever made. If I can find it here, it was his. He had some really good ones in Impact actually. One was wrestling is real, people are fake. That was a good shirt.
Oh, that's cool. I'd wear that.
Yeah, no, he had some actually really. His merch was like the best ever in Impact, and I think that's the one he's wearing on this. But from a content standpoint, none of them actually say anything that justifies it. It's just word salad. It's like, yeah, the Philadelphia promotion. So
some of them, even if you.
Sorry. That is the shirt he's wearing. The wrestling is real. He looks very young. I forgot how young Mr.
Looks
Mr.
really young, yeah.
So here's what the segment is called.
Yeah,
Madison Rayne, Matt Morgan, and Mr. Kennedy remember the Philadelphia promotion. What the fuck? Sorry, go on.
But see, even if you take the awkwardness of people not saying ECW out of it, like some of these interviews are like, it's like they were just sprung on them.
Yeah,
like
the last minute.
Yeah, like they had no clue what they were going to be asked. Like they didn't even give them. It's like, hey AJ, we're going to give you 10 minutes. We're coming around to film you in 10 minutes, and just give us like some of your memories of ECW. But we'll be back with you in 10 or 15 minutes. It's like they went in and they were like, AJ, we need your memories of ECW right now, because his in particular contribution is bizarre. He's like, oh man, yeah, Sandman and Sabu, man, they were beating each other with kendo sticks, and God damn it, he hit him not 3 times, 10 times. What? That's not a saying. Not 3 times, 10 times. What?
Oh man!
What in the flat Earth? This show is worth watching for everything between the matches.
Yeah. It's so bizarre. It's
Drop
so
acid
bizarre.
and watch this.
You don't need to. The blue light alone just. So, in that spirit, right? I love that, like
the blue screeny.
the blue W 2.0 come out, right? And it's sad because PJ Polacco gets no entrance. He's already in the ring. The blue Tilly actually doesn't look like the blue. I actually don't think that is the blue meanie. I think, that's not the blue meanie.
What?
That's some other fat fella.
No,
it is. That's not the blue meanie.
You wouldn't just replace one fat guy with another.
I think they have. That's not the blue meanie.
Come on, that's ridiculous. That's like slapping.
No, honestly, that isn't the blue meanie. There's no way.
Nobody would do that. That's like slapping, like a sumo suit on a fat Samoan guy. Pretending he's Japanese. That would never happen.
No, that's not the blue meanie. That's why they call him the blue Tilly, and that's why the actual blue meanie was on the show earlier on as a video package. Wow.
Maybe you can help me out here. What is it? Is Tilly his name, or what is it? Tilly am I missing something here?
Hold on, I actually have this here. Blue Tilly. Yeah, it's not. He's not the same guy.
Oh, so his name is. James
so it was actual.
West.
So Big Tilly was his name.
Big Tilly was his name.
Big
right.
Tilly, right?
Okay.
Big Rocco was the other half of the Big Rocco. He was known in the Main Event Mafia, but they actually just painted him blue. Holy Christ! Oh my God!
And then cut the belly out of his t-shirt.
This has added a whole new level to this. Wow!
Next you'll be telling me Santa's not real.
Wow! So you're actually able to get an actual Hollywood Nova. They weren't able to get the blue meanie.
And come here, is it the real?
Wow.
Is it the real Stevie Richards?
It's the real Stevie Richards.
Okay.
Wow! Oh my God!
And it's the real.
Oh my God!
It's the real PJ Polacco.
I wish I knew this sooner. It makes it so much worse. You couldn't get the blue meanie, so they found some other black fella. Oh, sorry, some other fat fella.
Some other blue fella.
Some other blue fella. Oh my God! What are they thinking? Oh.
That's bizarre. So when you were watching this, you thought they were just saying the blue Tilly because they didn't have the rights to the blue meanie. No, it's not actually. I thought me and you. So I thought we were playing a game there where we were pretending. Okay, that's why I was playing along. I thought we were doing a bit where we were both pretending. So you actually didn't know.
I didn't know.
Oh, phenomenal. Do you know what that is?
That's
That's just incredible.
oh man, it's like when you're a kid and you go see Santa, and you're like, oh, that's not Santa. He works for Santa. Do you think that's what they said about Blue Tilly? They're like, no, that's not the real Blue Mini. He works for
Yes,
Blue
he
Tilly.
works with them. Here, at
Come on.
one stage during this, PJ Polacco did what is it?
I
he
know
called
that's
it?
the man's name, but still, it's ridiculous.
What is he called? What does he call this version of the Tombstone? It's like the Incredible Driver or the Incredible.
No, it's called That's Incredible.
That's incredible.
Or Just Incredible, yeah.
But that should have been called That's Polacco. But they call it
PJ Polacco.
they call it That's Incredible. It's like, no, that's Polacco. That's what you should be calling that.
So this match mercifully ends in about 6 minutes. Stevie Richards defeats PJ Polacco. However,
and again, we should say it. It's by no means is it a bad match.
No.
And they actually do hype up. We're starting to get a wee bit more hardcore here, and there's
At
some
the
really
end.
good spots in this. But again, it's just we're like at this stage we're an hour into the ECW pay-per-view, and it's very underwhelming.
and Stevie Richards actually wins with like a super kick. So it's not even like a hardcore finish. It's just a super kick. But PJ Polacco picks up his kendo stick and he's hugging it, sells it for a little bit, and then batters Stevie Richards with it, right? And he goes at him for a little while, and then we get the lights out, and it's like a half-assed lights out because you can still see people in the ring. And it's Sandman. Sandman has shown up with his own kendo stick.
At least they're able to call him Sandman.
Yeah, because I think he actually like owns
He
the
left.
character himself, so
Yeah.
So he does the White Russian leg sweep and canes the shit out of him, and yeah, I mean that's kind of what happens there.
That'll teach you to use a kendo stick in wrestling.
And then we get the best segment of the whole night: Francine feeding the baby. Just randomly, it's the most awkward segment I think I've ever seen.
See, if it was an
Ever.
actual ECW crowd, the baby would have got a "He's Hardcore" chant. Like
Yeah.
people would have loved the baby, Or
So-
there would have been a demand for breastfeeding or something, like an ECW crowd would have made gold out of that. But this was just confused people from Universal Studios.
So then I think we get the Fallen, the praise for the Fallen, from Mike Tenay and Taz. Which
Yeah,
you know what?
the
all the-
PowerPoint production.
All of them are wearing suits except for Taz. Taz should have worn a suit.
I mean, he's
Just saying.
Taz. It's part of his whole.
I know, but I'm just saying. I'm like, there's no commitment to it, Or he should have went out in his ECW gear.
Come here. What's the deal with Taz? Was he like gravely injured or?
Yeah, no, Taz was like one of the best parts of. Oh my god! So I'm going to read this quote to all the men and women that are no longer with us. Our thoughts and prayers will always be with you. Our hearts go out to you and your families. Your contributions to the company will never be forgotten.
I
Why
love
are
that
you
it's
making?
addressed directly to the dead.
Like, to which company? WWE, who own ECW, or to TNA? I'm so confused by.
So I love that it's addressed directly to all the dead people reading this.
Oh god. Okay, so Taz was
I get rights and names and stuff, but why couldn't you get like just pictures of the people who've died, and even if there's an issue with their wrestling name, just use their real name. And
yeah.
set 60 seconds aside, nice music, pictures of them fading.
Well, see,
in and
Martin, the thing about it is, hold on, they had 4 days.
out.
You know,
I could set up a PowerPoint in 4 days, and I'm pretty tech.
look, what we got was the best they could do in 4 days. Again,
It's like, and now for our tribute to the fallen, and it's literally just a screen that says a tribute to the fallen.
But okay, so Taz basically he was like the top guy in ECW in lots of ways. He was actually class. Went to WWE. It turns out he was a lot more injured than he thought he was, and that was kind of it.
But he like his early days in WWE were like, I cannot wait until we do the Royal Rumble 2000.
Oh man, look, you want to talk about somebody who was more disappointed than anybody was me. I was so hyped when Taz showed up, and then it was just like, oh, you're a commentator within a year. This is unbelievable.
We've had so many wrestlers who've been like Bryan Danielson, Saraya, all these people who Edge, all these people who are told you are beyond injured, you will never wrestle again. And then they do. Do you think is it just Taz just was like, nah, I think I'm good.
I think he just liked talking.
He never came back for like one more match or one.
He did. He had a terrible feud with Jerry Lawler. It was not good.
Yeah, but look, if Bret Hart couldn't get a decent feud out of Jerry Lawler, nobody can.
So our next match is Brother Runt, who is Spike Dudley.
Genuinely love Spike Dudley.
Al Snow, who's able to use his name, Al Snow, and Rhino. And Rhino is, no secret, long-term fans of the show. I love Rhino. Rhino's one of my favorite wrestlers. So he's the War Machine Rhino. So he's actually not even using his ECW gimmick. He's using his TNA gimmick. Which is he was the War Machine Rhino. And Rhino still has like the best spear. Or it's not even a spear, sorry. Excuse me. Gore.
Is this Rhino, is he using the I or the Y?
He's using the I. He's using the I.
Oh.
Yeah. So the Y was WWE. So he's
right. That's it.
Yeah. So he's actually just using his TNA gimmick here. So this was his TNA gimmick, and it was great. So it's kind of weird. Brother Runt, Spike Dudley would kind of show up every now and again, and Al Snow, again would just show up randomly in different places. So, but this was a really, really good match. It was a three-way dance, a traditional ECW three-way dance. It's very, very good. The right decision was made. Rhino looked like a killer, and when he hit the Gore, it was just sick. Some weapons have been introduced as well. So again, this is like very, very TNA-ish. Sorry. Yeah, well, it is TNA-ish. Sorry, it's very ECW-ish because they actually start using weapons of that as well. But I think if anyone else had won, it would have been disappointing. Like Brother Runt or Spike Dudley never won in ECW, so it kind of makes sense. And Al Snow didn't really need to win. But I mean, the crowd were still happy enough that they got to cheer Al Snow and do the whole head thing. But I think a match like this actually would have been better opening up the show, to be honest with you.
I really enjoyed this match. This felt like a tribute to ECW.
Yes.
If they'd have done their hardcore video package at the start, and then, like you say, opened with this would have gone down. And so this went 6 minutes. Give them the 10 minutes that the opening match got, and let them go hell for leather. I think it would have been a far better opening. But as it is, this was really good match, very enjoyable. You're starting to see sort of the bits of ECW shining through. If you are going to watch this pay-per-view, like purely for not for like the lulls, if you're going to watch it for wrestling, skip an hour. What is it, like an hour and 20 minutes into it?
Hour and 5.
Hour and 5 minutes into it, and start off with this match.
Yeah. And
then, because for the last 4 matches, it's a semi-decent pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think, funny enough, if they had just made this the episode of Impact, it actually probably would have been better. But
yeah, if you had said next week's Impact is going to be an easy and just have the last 4 matches on it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
That's it. I mean, it's like it was. It seems like
why are we not bookers?
You know what? I don't know. I remember talking to Dixie like after Drew Galloway showed up, and she was like, "What do you think of the show?" And I was saying blah 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 blah, and just the look in her eyes when her whole world just crashes, and you're like, "That's why we're not bookers," because people who run the show just want to be told sometimes that they're doing the right thing. So that's why we're not bookers. The next video package was Mick Foley talking about Tommy Dreamer for some reason.
Hold on, though.
He's reading Hulk Hogan's book.
Oh, man. That is literally what I was going to say. One of the actual gags that actually got me was the camera comes up and Mick Foley and he's reading Hulk Hogan's book. That genuinely popped me.
Yeah, it was pretty good. We have Brutus Magnus, who is he's married to Mickey James now, and he was in NWA. I can't remember exactly. I think he's still called
Winner.
Brutus Magnus. Sorry, what?
Winner.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to find his actual, because he goes by a different name, I think. Yeah, Nickus Aldis. That's it. He was in Gladiators as well. Terrible wrestler. I have no time for him at all. I really, really don't like him. Not as a person.
He doesn't care because he goes home to Mickey James every
exactly.
night.
He's winning in life. He is absolutely winning in life.
It's like when people used to criticize Buddy Matthews to be like, he's too small for WWE. He's too big for the cruiserweight division. I was like, he goes home every night to Alexa Bliss. He doesn't care what you think.
He's winning. Like, that's the thing. It's like what we say about Punk. It's like AJ Lee. It's like, man, come on. You don't need to do anything else. You're already winning. So, but what's stilted about him is Brutus Magnus never ever wrestled that style. He never wrestled a hardcore style. He was never known for it. In the NWA, in his match with Cody and all that kind of stuff in recent years, that's what he did. He was talking about the NWA. That would make much more sense, but no. Showing up here was weird, man. And the same with Chris Sabin. Chris Sabin was an X Division wrestler. It's like, why are you having him talking about ECW when neither one of them would have benefited from there? But it sets up the next match. And look, I know what you're saying about it's a little bit better, but you have Gajones and Axel Rotten. So Gajones is Balls Mahoney.
Yeah.
And Axel Rotten,
who we've established. Oh no, what was he known as in WCW?
Wait, what was? It wasn't Balls Mahoney. It was something else. Hold on, let me find this. Gajones. Oh my god, I can't believe to call him that.
I actually like that. I thought that's pretty cool.
Okay, hold on. Because we did see him in WCW at one point, didn't we?
Yeah, but I
think he was just called Balls Mahoney, was he not?
All right. Oh, well, that's okay. Then. I actually liked Balls Mahoney. Look, he's not the greatest wrestler in the world, but he got a cool character, and his matches were, even if they weren't technically great, he was kind of willing to do whatever it took in them. So I kind of liked Balls Mahoney.
Yeah. I mean, oh, wow, he's dead.
Aw.
What?
Oh,
that's a bummer.
There you go. Well, look, we'd like to...
He died in 2016 of a heart attack.
Yeah, well, the Wrestling Rewind would like to go now to our segment in honor of Balls Mahoney. We honor Balls Mahoney.
Oh god! If this was a visual media, we could just put up that sign from earlier on.
We could, yeah. But if this is visual media, I wouldn't be able to do these podcasts in my pants. So.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Oh my god, that sucks. And apparently, he also had chronic traumatic encephalopathy (CTE) from all the chair shots. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Oh, well. Okay. Wikipedia is horrible. Because anytime I click into it, it's like, oh, dead, injured. It's like, oh, well. Poor Balls Mahoney. That's such a bummer. Anyway, so he shows up here very much alive.
Good man.
Good man, yeah. I love there's a sign in the crowd. Actually, he's wearing a Shadows Fall t-shirt, which is like, they were a really good band.
Oh, my God. He teamed with Axel Rotten, and he's dead as well. Jesus.
Is he? Yeah. Oh, man. All right.
Well, I didn't really care as much about Axel Rotten.
Yeah, I mean, I'm genuinely sad about Balls Mahoney being dead.
Kind of like Balls Mahoney, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Not for any reason. I just, like Balls Mahoney. He was just, cool. In the crowd, there's a sign saying, you want hardcore, you got hardcore. And I'm like, I don't think you made that. I think you were given that sign when you walked in there, buddy. It
was half right. You want hardcore.
Oh, God. So they're facing Team 3D, who are made up of Brother Ray and Brother Devon, legally distinct from the Dudley Boys.
Couple of legally distinct bully there.
Exactly. And Brother Ray is wearing a Confederate do-rag for some reason. Now, this was never part of his gimmick. He just did it on this night for some reason. What did you think of his Confederate do-rag?
I mean, like, I kind of got this stuff when wrestlers did it in like the 80s and 90s. 2010 Confederate do-rag is a bit odd.
There's a great sign that says we paid for Alex Rotten and Balls Mahoney. It's like he didn't pay at all. So it's like,
maybe that's a comment on the value of Axel Rotten.
Maybe.
We paid exactly what they're worth.
There's a random Irish flag in the crowd, which, you know, fair enough, nice to see.
With TNA written on it,
Yep.
but from the angle it only shows the top half of it, so it looks like IRA on the flag, because you can only see the top of the T and the top of the N, and then you can see the A, and I'm like, holy shit, extreme.
Extreme. This is a bunch of lads wearing balaclavas, like.
Just
Oh man. This is why we can't do the show on the radio.
no, definitely not.
So they do the whole, you know, fighting through the crowd thing, hitting them with things and falling down and all that kind of stuff. And then he gets back in the ring and weapons get thrown in. And it's fucking garbage. So Bubba Ray Dudley starts trying to have sex with a frying pan, some cookie dishes. It's all bad. And I don't know. We've talked about really enjoying hardcore wrestling on this podcast, and we do. This just seemed like they were going through spot by spot, and there's no rhyme or reason other than just hitting each other with things. There was I didn't see any like creativity here.
No, zero. The thing about this match is, so you have, I'm just going to say the Dudleys. You have the Dudleys, and they were genuine ECW like royalty, like ECW mainstays, and this match coasts along on that.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
That alone,
absolutely, yeah,
is what gets this match over with the crowd.
There's a good spot when they all have, you know, the chairs and they're doing the proper ECW spot where they like dual chairs, but it's also ruined by the fact that this is the match that has the lightsaber duel in it.
It's the one, yeah.
So it's like, which is it? Are you hardcore or is it ridiculous? Because it's like in the space of 30 seconds, they go from a lightsaber duel to an actual cool spot, and it's like, why did you use fake lightsabers? I mean, there's no real lightsabers.
And
but
here's
still.
the thing. Here's actually, they do the lightsaber spot so well.
Yeah.
Because the camera turns to the side, and is it Axel Rotten or Balls Mahoney? Whichever one of them is, stabs Bubba Ray. I was going to call him Bubba Ray. Stabs Bubba Ray with...
It's Balls, yeah.
Ball stabs Bubba Ray with the lightsaber, and he gets him like, do you know, between the arm and the side, and then it shoots out through he's wearing like a weird shirt, and it shoots out through the shirt in the back, and it looks like he's fully lightsabered him. Like it's done quite well. It's just completely out of kind of context. It's like, what are you doing? You were killing each other a minute ago.
So the Dudleys win with a powerbomb through a flaming table. No 3D through the table, which would have made more sense. And that's the end of that match. But it's not really. We have a highlight video package of it, which shows the lightsaber duel for some reason. And then the gangsters come out and kill everybody. New Jack, who's also dead, which is why it's okay to make fun of him, because he'd hunt us down and murder us.
And also he was an asshole. Like,
yeah, but he also would find us and kill us.
He definitely would.
Yeah,
and not in a like funny hyperbolic way.
No, as in like
where are these motherfuckers from? Ireland.
He'd be knocking at the door, and you don't want that. So that's why, now you can say how bad the segment was without fear of reprisal.
And what a genuine asshole he was. Like,
oh yeah, oh no, absolutely. But
went out of his way to hurt people. A proper dickhead.
But if you watch Dark Side of the Ring, it really does kind of add a lot of context to why he was such an asshole.
Yeah, you've a tough life.
Absolutely. But here's the bit that made the least sense of this whole segment, right? Oh my God, I just saw something I didn't see before. Okay. After they've all battered each other, they then all hug. And then there's a sign that says hug it out. Now, I don't know about you. When I think hardcore, I don't think hugs.
But like
I mean, it's so...
I get that this is an ECW reunion show. Like, if this had been
hug
a
later.
Battle...
Hug later.
But there's a big thing at the end of the show where everyone comes out and hugs, and do it then. But like, I get if there'd been like say there's a battle between two wrestlers who really respect each other and they absolutely go the distance, and then one of them narrowly wins, and at the end of it the two of them stand up. And so like this week on Dynamite, and if you haven't seen Dynamite the last 2 weeks, watch the last 2 weeks. They're genuinely phenomenal. You didn't watch the Omega Moxley cage match?
I did. It's unreal.
The last 2 weeks Dynamites are incredible, right? Jungle Boy and Roosh have a match on this week's Dynamite, and you swear to God, at least 3 times during that match, you think Jungle Boy has been killed. Like, it's terrifying. But the two of them, like, they respect each other. They're like, I'm not going easy on you. I'm giving you my absolute best. They batter each other around the place, and then at the end of it, the two of them stumble to their feet and shake hands, and it's like a moment. This, like the lightsaber thing, just felt like a complete tonal shift for no reason.
Yeah, for no reason. I mean, like, at one moment they're all battering each other, and then they just stop and hug. And it's so bizarre. It's like, which is it? Are you hardcore or are you not? It's weird. So then it cuts to a pretty, admittedly, great Raven promo. He's backstage kind of doing the whole gimmick thing. And then it cuts to Jesse Neal. Jesse Neal. I don't know if you know about Jesse Neal, but Jesse Neal was paralyzed in the ring, basically, a couple of years later. I think he's all right now, but he was like severely injured on an episode of Impact. He's retired. He was in the military. His whole gimmick was that he was a retired veteran.
Imagine making your way through a war zone only to be paralyzed in the Impact zone.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a whole thing. I can't really remember right now I'm trying to remember what's going on. Who was it? Yeah, it was someone anyway who injured. I can't remember. I used to remember it offhand, but he was fine. Eventually, he's still fine. He's not dead. I just checked.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I know. I thought this was going to be another.
Someone got out of this alive.
I was like, oh, he's dead. No, he's fine. But he never really made any kind of, to use the pun, impact on the wrestling business. And he really wasn't like a hardcore guy. He was just a former Marine, I think. And then, no, Navy SEAL, sorry. He's a former Navy SEAL, and then that was it. But yeah, I don't know why he was there. I don't know why he felt like he had to do that. But yeah, his best friend was killed in Iraq. It looks like, yeah.
God.
Yeah, so someone died.
So, not to be cruel, but maybe you shouldn't have been in Iraq.
Yeah. Suicide bomb, apparently. Yeah, so there you go. It was in Yemen. It was while they were refueling. And then who was after that? Frankie Kazarian. Now, Frankie Kazarian, I can understand talking about, ECW because he kind of, he was kind of wrestling around that time, and he probably would have been in ECW if it still had been around. He did some WWE stuff, and he kind of would fit in ECW quite well. But the whole time you're looking
even
at,
if not, he would have contemporary memories of it.
correct, exactly. He was an active wrestler at the time. But if you're watching him, I want everybody to watch his eyes. He is reading like a champ off to the side. So fair play to him. And
But
so,
there you go. Why did they give him lanes, but then leap in on AJ or a woman while she's trying to feed the baby? Like, why?
Here's what's more weird, right? So Paul Heyman wanted nothing to do with this show. Joey Styles wanted nothing to do with this show. Yet they start paying tribute to him, and he's getting a lovely payday working WWE. And at the same time, you have all these guys saying how great Joey Styles is.
All these guys who he probably didn't pay. Like,
No, this segment was for Joey Styles.
Oh, for Joey Styles. Sorry, I thought it was in Heyman.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I think Joey Styles was likable, but Heyman literally, when he sort of just dunked it out on ECW, like, there'd been wrestlers who hadn't been paid in months.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
Yeah, whereas Joey, as the announcer, was just one of the guys.
So we have our co-main event, and I use that term very loosely. The Paul Heyman tribute would be after this match. So.
Oh, right, okay.
Raven versus Tommy Dreamer with Mick Foley in his favorite role, as we have established. For some reason, the man just loves being a referee.
What is it? Does he like stripes? Does he like smacking the ground?
I don't know.
What is it about?
I think maybe his thing is like, no one's going to put me through anything if I'm a referee. It's the safest spot to be.
We haven't done this intentionally. We did 1999 Raw arc. We did and a sort of online WWE Taboo Tuesday through to Cyber Sunday arc. Now we've diverted from that slightly to do this foray into TNA ECW, right? But we didn't realize that all along what we've actually been doing is the Mick Foley special guest referee arc. That's what we've been doing the whole time. We just didn't know it.
No, literally, because it's like he just shows up randomly, no matter where we are. It's like, oh, there's Mick Foley being a referee for some reason. So he came out wearing a different outfit, and then Raven comes out, and Raven, he's a little bit worse for wear at this point. He's starting to look more like old man Raven.
Yeah,
hasn't shaved his head yet, so he still looks like Raven.
One of my favorite wrestlers, Raven.
But I love Raven. But you know what's weird? So Beulah is sitting beside Dixie. Now, Beulah McGillicuddy is Tommy Dreamer's wife, and two girls are Tommy Dreamer and Beulah's kids. Raven goes over, says hello to the girls, because obviously they know Raven, because he's like Tommy Dreamer's like legit best friend.
Yeah.
Now, what's weird about this is what happens in this match.
I noticed this as well.
I don't have kids yet, right? I would not, and these kids are young. They're not super young, but they're not super old. They're not old enough to be part of the show. I would not want my kids to see this, nor would I want my kids to see, who would be their uncle doing this. Imagine, like, we go out and batter each other, right? In front of our kids, and they think it's real. Like, why would you do that?
But it's not even. It's not even that the two of them batter each other in the ring or anything.
It's violently.
Like, Raven knocks him out of the ring towards where the family, like where the wife and kids are, and busts him open. I don't know if he blades or what, but busts him open directly in front of the wife and kids. It was like it reminded me a wee bit of when Mick Foley got 12 chair shots in front, except that wasn't meant to happen.
No, you see, that's the thing. And I remember this distinctly. This was supposed to be a play on that thing from Beyond the Mat. It was supposed to be it. The difference was one wasn't supposed to happen, and two was done in the full intention of the performers there. And I'm like, Tommy, listen, those girls are going to be warped. Those poor kids. You're their dad and, Raven, who they probably only know as your mate or their uncle. And you're there bleeding on each other and hurting each other, and it's horrific.
And also, this is the ECW tribute show. Why are you doing a callback to a WWF pay-per-view?
Exactly. Which none of them are on, except for Mick Foley. And
except for Foley.
And he probably doesn't remember it.
No, he definitely. I tell you, one thing that almost turned me gay was that Beyond the Mat pay-per-view, where Mick Foley's talking about, he's going like, yeah, Rock hit me so many times. I mean, he's like, it was partially my fault. I was supposed to fall out of the ring, but he hit me so hard in the first one, I didn't even know where I was. And then by the time we got up the ramp, my head was bust open. And it's just the way these things coincide. He said, you should have seen the cut I got. It looks like a goddamn pussy on my head. And then it cuts directly immediately to a full-on shot of the cut, and it looks exactly like a vagina on his skull, and it's just for a long time all I saw was Mick whenever I took a trip down south.
Wow. Okay. Folks, do not watch that show or skip past that bit if you don't want to. If you want to save yourself some struggle.
It is a great documentary, though.
Yeah, I don't recall that part though, so I'm glad I don't.
Yeah, that
for everyone.
That part really hit me.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's Jesus, man. That's horrible. Anyway, so this match again devolves into shenanigans. We have BW 2.0 come out and attack Tommy Dreamer. Now, there's another callback to Beyond the Mat where Raven handcuffs Tommy Dreamer. Again, I don't know why they're replicating Beyond the Mat here. I really don't. So Raven handcuffs Tommy Dreamer and then picks up a chair and starts wailing on him with the chair in front of Mick.
I get that Mick Foley was a big part of ECW,
but this
wasn't do any of this stuff in ECW.
Which again lends credence to what I'm saying, where it's like WWE had a better understanding of ECW than ECW did. So Beulah, like they did. Beulah comes out and tries to reason with with Raven. Raven hugs her and then whacks Tommy Dreamer open. And then he tries to attack her. Mick Foley gets kicked in the nuts. And Mick Foley gets hit with the chair, which he probably was like, this is why I'm the ref, so I don't get hit with the chair. Beulah does the nut shot. Tommy Dreamer then helpfully is assisted to do his Dreamer DDT, which is actually one of the worst spots I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, wait, hold on. Which spot?
Where he does the Dreamer DDT while he has the handcuffs on, and it's
oh my God. Okay.
It looks so fake. It looks so fake.
Here's where we're gonna differ. I thought this was like the one great spot of the match.
No, the bit after where it led into the finish with Raven getting the DDT was pretty cool, because the float over DDT is like, it's kind of like the RKO. You can kind of hit it from anywhere just because it's so fluid. But
no, I actually really liked maybe someone who was younger and more agile could have done it in a way that didn't look so contrived. But I just loved the idea of him being handcuffed and kind of shifting his arms to the side enough to get the head in, and then
I need you to do me a favor. Go back and watch it at 2 times the speed, and it just takes away all the magic.
At half the speed or 2 times the speed?
Sorry, at 2 times the speed. If you watch it sped up, it really looks terrible.
Oh, okay.
And
did you watch this pay-per-view at double speed?
No. But I did. I
sat through this whole goddamn thing.
I've had to cut. It's like the meme. This whole thing was your idea. I've already covered this twice in my life, man. I've seen it already. You bastard! This was your idea. You said I want to see an ECW pay-per-view with ECW, and I'm like, I have just the thing.
So during the week, so like I said, we don't talk about these shows, but during the week we'll text each other just like funny random stuff we find online about wrestling. And one thing Dara sent me during the week was Jim Ross really hated Triple H in the 2000s, and it's a video of all the times Jim Ross calls Triple H, says, "Oh, yeah, you got no soul, you got no heart. Oh, he's demonic." Oh, and it just ends with, "Triple H, you bastard!" Just popped. Absolutely loved it.
Oh my god! So,
and I texted him back, going, "You bastard!" Reminds me of that episode of The Office where Michael goes, "Dwight, you ignorant slut."
So after this match, again, Tommy lost. You think if he was booking this, he'd book himself to win? Makes no sense. So we have one of the most uncomfortable segments I think I've ever seen in professional wrestling, which is saying something. You have the gangsters backstage. Well, SoCal Val is hanging out with JB, and then the gangsters show up, and I'm gonna hand this one over to you, Martin. New Jack has an interesting interaction with poor SoCal Val. Do you want to kind of tell the listeners what happened?
No, wait. Did I miss something? What happens here?
So the gangsters grab SoCal by the hair and pull her away.
Ooh. How did I miss this?
I don't know. And then they grab JB by the scruff of the neck and drag him away. So I'm assuming implied sexual congress happened with the four of them.
And this isn't leading on to anything. This is just...
No, that's the last time you see the four of them.
Is this a bit like when we were watching...
Well, Heidenreich?
No, we were watching Cyber Sunday the other week, and Crime Time nick Michael Cole's laptop.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's kind of what's implied. It's like that they're going to go off and...
There's no story to it. It's just like, hey, black guys will rob your laptop.
and perform sexual congress without consent.
Oh my god! Honestly, God, I don't know how I missed that.
It's so incredibly uncomfortable, and it's just before the main event. That was their big angle.
To nothing. Their big angle leading to nothing.
Oh my god! So RVD comes out, who actually is the TNA champion at the time. The belt is actually great. I really like that TNA belt. And then we have Sabu. Sabu, who looks nothing like Sabu. Sabu had one of the best runs ever, actually, in TNA. And TNA Sabu is actually incredible. We'll probably watch some Sabu matches. Sabu had some of the best.
Like Sabu until he takes his his turban off.
Exactly. So Sabu in TNA had some incredible matches with Samoa Joe. He had some great matches with Abyss. I mean, absolutely incredible. I would say his run in TNA is actually his best run. And again, that's probably controversial, but we'll cover it and you can let me know what you think.
Before we go into that, can I also tell you that the homicidal, genocidal, suicidal maniac is a gentleman. So he wrestled the show for us in Phoenix Wrestling in Cork. And I had the pleasure of picking him up at the airport and taking him to the show. And I said, I was absolute nobody at the time, just another trainee. Was a total gentleman to me. Was more than happy to talk about him, and his missus were there at the time. More than happy to talk about anything. More than happy to talk about offering advice. Like, I'm sure every young fellow who picks him up at the airport, he has to listen to the same questions. More than happy to talk about advice. Really nice, really friendly. And then after the show, I drove him back to his hotel. I took out his bags, and out of nowhere, he had a big hug for me. An absolute gentleman.
You know, and the thing about it is like, I actually...
the genocidal, homicidal, suicidal gentleman.
I actually love Sabu. I'll be honest with you. Sabu is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I think he's great.
Oh,
It's
definitely, yeah.
It's just unfortunate that this Sabu is not really Sabu. I mean, again, it's grand that he takes the turban off, and then you're like, oh my god, where's Sabu gone? You know? He looks like the bald kid from The Matrix.
And he kind of gets unfairly labelled as a sort of a Sin Cara level botcher, which...
No, I mean that happens a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the type of, the style of wrestling he did was difficult and risky. Like, it was...
Hold on. Before we get to a style of wrestling, right? I mean, I'm looking at this here again, and
so for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, he has shaved his head.
yeah, but that's not the problem. Oh, and I mean, yeah, it is kind of.
It's part of.
It's kind of part of it, but I mean, looking at the ring here, right? There's RVD who doesn't really kind of looks like RVD. There's Sabu who doesn't look like Sabu. They're in a blue ring, which looks weird. Yeah. It's shot in a way that the whole package of this main event is trying to be something that it's not. And I think if they had a book this, even with the lads the way they were, looking the way they were, moving the way they were, doing it in an Impact show, a TNA show, I think that would have been more successful than this is ECW, really. It's like, no, they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, but they've smushed the cake back into the package after taking a bite out of it.
Do you know what it is?
And that's kind of what it feels like.
It's the uncanny valley.
That's what it is.
Rob Van Dam and Sabu looks like an ECW main event. Like, that's you think of ECW, Rob Van Dam and Sabu. Yeah, that's 100% ECW. In a hardcore match, absolutely. In the main event, goddamn, give it to me. But it's just not right.
And you know what's weird?
It's all there. It's definitely there. But it's just not. You actually really hit on this here. There's a very strange, uncanny valley effect to this match.
Yeah, and look, it's not that Sabu shaved his head, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help.
It does. It's weird because it's Sabu, but it's the whole thing just gelled in a way that just doesn't feel right. It's like it's nearly there, but there's just something off, and it goes beyond. It's 100% aesthetics, but it goes beyond just the obvious ones. It's the whole feel of the match, and what feels weird to think about, or what is weird to think about, when you watch this match from WWE ECW 2006, it feels more like ECW than this did. When you watch RVD versus Sabu in WWE.
Yeah.
I mean, and that speaks volumes. Because this match did happen on Sci-Fi at one point. And it felt more like ECW than this did. And this is probably why this pay-per-view is so failed to hit the mark. It's so poor and weird and stilted. It's because it's like it was trying to be something it never could be when it should have just been TNA. If they had just been like, right, this is a TNA show, we're going to have some ECW matches in, grand. And they made it clear, but it's just so uncanny and weird. And then Sabu gets busted open at one point and there's blood everywhere, and it's just like, I don't know. I felt uncomfortable watching this match, and I don't really know why, but I think you hit the nail on the head with the uncanny valley thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, so I thought this was one of the better matches of the night. I mean, that's not saying a whole pile, given the whole...
Well, the three-way dance is still brilliant, like. The three-way dance I would still hold up as being a genuinely good match.
Yeah, that would stand up anywhere. I mean, I enjoyed this. Look, maybe it's because, like, I'm not a huge ECW guy. I like it. I like what it meant to wrestling. I like that there was an alternative. There should always be an alternative. Like, no matter what your views are on, say, AEW, for example, wrestling needs an alternative.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
When you
And-
have a
and-
monopoly, you end up with
Cyber Sunday
2000
2005.
Yeah, you end up with 2005 to 2015 WWE, and it's
But you know what?
dreadful.
But on that point, I think it's a very important to make a very very important point to make. You need a feeder ground as well. You need an ECW. You need a TNA. But I think it's important for that stuff to stay in and of its time, and this just didn't. This whole show, like I had some, like this last match had some cool segments. RVD would eventually win, with a 5-star frog splash, which was nice. As it always was nice when he'd hit it. The table spots were great. You know, when he started doing the table spots, and Sabu kind of, as Sabu often did. Little known fact about Sabu matches: Sabu beats himself.
Yeah,
he always beats himself. He does a move. He does a whole sequence where he misses, and then it's taken advantage of, and that's how he loses. So, I mean, it was a Sabu match.
Like one of the moves that Sabu is kind of famous for, maybe 15% of the time screwing up, is when he hits the chair, leaps off the chair onto the top rope, and then does the sort of huge dive from the top rope outside the ring over the barricade into the audience, and he does it beautifully here.
Yeah,
really cool spot.
And I mean, like, the thing about it is like, was it the worst match ever? No, not by a long shot. It was actually quite a good match, but the uncanny valley nature of it, that blue light, man. I think if that blue light hadn't been there, it actually probably would have been a lot better. And if the camera angles had been a bit more static. It's unfortunate because these guys had a great match. They've had better matches. It's just, again, 4 days notice. You have to give them to as well that they planned this for 4 days. As you said, RVD wasn't even supposed to be wrestling Sabu, which I think is an important point to mention.
Yeah,
as well.
and like for lads who out of nowhere put this match together. I mean, it's a 17-minute match. 17 minutes is
a long time.
Not easy. Like,
No, it's not.
The longest match I ever had was 10 minutes, and I swear to God, I thought. But I mean, at the end of it, I couldn't even walk to the back. I had to roll out and then kind of roll under the ring. I thought I was about to vomit up a lung.
No.
But
Okay.
even just putting that together, like, I was 3 minutes into it, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's next? What do we do?"
Now, here's what's weird, right? So, at the end of the original One Night Stand, there was a beer bash with Austin, because Austin's thing was beer, right?
Yeah.
Now, if memory serves, and correct me if I'm wrong, ECW beer bash things weren't really a thing, right? I don't remember that being a part of ECW, right? I remember the only time that was done was because of Austin. And I know Sandman's thing was drinking, but he didn't share his beer. That wasn't a Sandman thing.
Well,
right?
I mean, he shared it, but only by smashing his head with the cans and spitting it everywhere.
Exactly. It wasn't. So they were aping a segment that was on the first reunion show that they're upset about happening by restaging it poorly. And I'm like, why are you doing the in-ring beer bash? If you were so upset by the WWE's betrayal of ECW, why are you stealing something that was very, very important to that show? And the worst part about it is they're obviously drinking Bud Light, where they had to scribble out the name, because they don't want to advertise it. Dixie's in the crowd, and she just looks.
Think it's they don't want to advertise it, or Bud Light was like, "You can drink our beer, but you got to cover up the label.
You got to cover
we
it
don't
up.
want to be associated with this."
And I've never seen that before, where they cover, they cover out the beer. And Tommy cuts a promo where he's like, "Thank you," and Bubba picks up Dixie and brings her into the ring, and it's like Tony Khan's dream, just there. And I mean, it's the same look that I see on Tony Khan's face every time I see him.
If only these wrestlers would be nice to him and stop screwing him over.
Tommy's like saying thank you to everybody, and I'm just so upset 13 years later by this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to do the big reunion at the end. It makes sense. Do it at the end. Don't do it in the middle of a Team 3D Axel Rotten gangsters beatdown. You know.
But I just don't get why they, because we've already seen this happen. This happened in WWE with Austin.
And it was better.
This is just weird. I mean, it's still like when it happened the first time, it was weird. Like when I watched it at the time, but watching it now, 13 years later, it's still as strange. It's so out of left field. You know, it's like, why did you steal that? And those Irish lads off on the left-hand side, they're properly into the whole thing. They probably wanted a beer. They're probably like, hey, show us one. Look, we're Irish. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Just aim for the big IRA flag.
We'll catch it. Don't worry. So, yeah, I mean, and so ends one of the worst shows ever committed to memory. It wouldn't be the last Hardcore Justice. There would be more. But it would be the last ECW-teamed Hardcore Justice, and the whole effing show would follow up, which would still kind of tie on to the ECW thing.
The Hard Justice thing, they just kept this as Hardcore Justice from then on?
For a little while, yeah.
And then did they go back to Hard Justice, or?
Well, see, this was stylized as Hardcore Justice, The Last Stand, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, they'd go, I mean, they would go back to Hard Justice, but then they'd kind of go to Hardcore Justice, and then there'd be no consistency. Welcome to TNA. Welcome to TNA.
These things are not problems. Why are you making them problems? Like, if you're going to do it as a one-off, then call it Hardcore Justice, and then go back to Hard Justice. Like,
oh, sweet summer child. You're going to learn that there's no consistency.
It's like, I'm not even annoyed about it. Like, I'm not like, if you want to call it Hardcore Justice from now on, do it. But just, I don't want to criticize. I just want to understand.
So, Hard Justice, Hard Justice, Hard Justice, Hard Justice, Hard Justice, Hardcore Justice, Hardcore Justice, Hardcore Justice, Hardcore Justice 2, Hardcore Justice, Hardcore Justice 3,
the fourth Hardcore Justice,
Hardcore Justice 2015, Hardcore Justice, Hardcore Justice.
The fourth Hardcore Justice is Hardcore Justice 2.
Yeah, as I said, there's no consistency. There's no consistency.
OTNA.
And so here's the best part about
TNA is if a wrestling promotion had dementia.
It gets better, right? Hardcore Justice 2013 happened over the course of 7 days.
Oh, I thought you were going to tell me Hardcore Justice 2013 happened in 1997.
No, it happened over 2 days. So technically, Hardcore Justice, what's it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically, Hardcore Justice 5 is Hardcore Justice 5 and 6. But then after that, Hardcore Justice 3 happened. You know what this is like? This is like that NES game Mother or Home.
Oh, yeah.
Or Earthbound, where it's like actually 1 is 3 and 3 is, or even Final Fantasy, where like 6 is 3 and 3 is 6, and you're like. So as I said, man, there's no.
It's like Star Wars. Maybe they're retconning stuff. So episode 1 is actually episode 4. You know, like when you look at the whole timeline, maybe that's what they were doing.
Maybe, but my favorite Hard Justice actually is from 2007, because I was actually like, I'm in the hype package for that, because I was there like at the block of tapings when Kurt Angle had the TNA Championship and the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship.
Ooh.
And basically, it was winner take all. So those belts were on the line, as were the TNA World Tag Team titles and the X Division title against Samoa Joe. So Kurt Angle ended up with all the belts.
I'd say that did more than 8,000 views.
I don't know, but I remember in the ring, that's where Karen Angle wanted a divorce from Kurt Angle, and that was the big segment. Yeah. So there we go. That's Hardcore Justice 1. Not to be confused with Hardcore Justice.
And this is definitely Hardcore Justice 1. It's not.
No, it's definitely Hardcore Justice 1.
It's not Hardcore Justice episode 6 or something.
So I'm going to correct myself. From that point on, they would continue calling it Hardcore Justice, but they would number them differently.
Throw in random numbers.
Random numbers, and then the random one night only pay-per-views. It would not be the last appearance though of TNA originals. Periodically, we would see the appearance of RVD, the Dudley Boys.
ECW originals, you mean?
What did I say?
TNA originals.
Oh, yeah, well, we definitely see those as well. But,
In TNA.
Yeah, exactly. And in WWE. But sorry, it wouldn't be the last appearance of ECW originals. We'd have RVD, sometimes Sabu, Brother Runt, Bully Ray and Devon. And yeah, they'll just keep going on and on and on, where you'd see less and less, but they'd still be there. The last Hardcore Justice was in 2021, and it would be Team Dreamer, believe it or not, versus Violent by Design in a 8-man hardcore war match.
Tommy Dreamer, 11 years previously, having his big ECW goodbye. And in 2021, he's having a hardcore Justice.
He's been saying, you know what? He's been saying goodbye for what, 11 years?
He's as bad as Flair.
Oh God, what a train wreck! Really, what a train wreck!
Do you know what? It's just it's such a hard pay-per-view to sum up, because if you take each match individually, it's not terrible. There's nothing here you go, oh my God, that was a dreadful match. It's a mixture.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mixture of...
I mean...
It's a mixture of very underwhelming matches.
Yeah, okay.
Weirdly placed matches with very odd segments and endings. An overall vibe that, like we say, the uncanny valley, that everything says ECW, but this doesn't look like ECW. Just, it's, if you break this down match by match, it's not the worst pay-per-view ever. If you look at it as a whole, man, it's one of the worst pay-per-views ever.
And remember, it's important to remember this, Martin. This is what you asked for.
I did this.
You did this.
I deserve this.
And this is why when you say things like ECW needs to have its own show, It doesn't.
ECW for several years did have its own show, and then it died. There's a reason.
And sometimes that's okay.
And that's fine. People die, promotions die, things die. Like, nobody would drink half a bottle of whiskey and recommend that we dig up Balls Mahoney and throw him back in the ring. Move on.
See, I'm sad about Balls Mahoney. He was like,
I really liked him. But I think he'd like that. I think he'd like a bit of slagging about his corpse.
That's fair. And it looks like the domain hardcorejustice.com is for sale. And I might just buy it and redirect it to our show.
You need to buy it before some like really aggressive porn buys it.
Doesn't it sound like?
Yeah.
Here's the thing about TNA pay-per-views, right? Okay, so I'm going to read some of the names because we're not on the radio, so we can say stuff like this. Hardcore Justice, No Surrender, Final Resolution.
That's a bit Nazi. Final Resolution that's
Bound for Glory, Sacrifice, Lockdown, Against All Odds, Destination X. These all sound like
Destination X. Fully sounds like a porno.
But so does Hard Justice.
Hardcore Justice definitely sounds like a porno. The Final Solution.
Final Resolution.
Oh, the final solution. But it's very close to the Final Solution. You got Big Bang and Nazi off that.
What about Victory Road?
Victory Road. If Victory Road preceded the Final Solution, Big Bang and Nazi. If Victory Road is elsewhere, it's fine.
So here's the funny thing, right? So TNA was based in Nashville, so I had like a big kind of, conservative lean and that kind of stuff. And it's funny that like all the pay-per-views sound like porn.
Well, I mean, like, let's say you have the opening match of the Final Solution, and it's brother Devon in his Confederate.
I can't believe they let him walk out like that.
Although I'll tell you what, and like, it's like your tag team partner's black. What do you?
He's like, I just like it. Okay. I don't even think.
Yeah.
I don't even think he's from the South. I think he's from New York.
Exactly. It's like if me and Goldberg were a tag team, it's like I'm just going to wear my swastika do-rag. You're all right with that? You're all right with that, Goldberg? You cool? I just like the way it looks, you know.
You're not even German.
No, you're not even German, dude. But
oh my god.
So no, for me and Sheamus are the tag team. Say Sheamus, I'm just gonna wear me black and tans do-rag. Like, you cool with that? Just me and me. I'm just gonna wear my RUC knee pads. Like, you know, me parachute regiment trunks. Like,
I just think it's cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But I'll tell you what though.
One
thing, if we're talking about TNA being ECW, one thing they've actually got accurate is the names. Now, I've probably told this story before, but this is a genuine story. So I went, like, back in the day, because I'm an old man, was hunting for wrestling tapes. And I mean tapes. VHS, not DVD.
So basically, our logo, kids. If you're wondering what that is, that's a videotape. That's a VHS tape.
That's a VHS. It's a big black box that plays
wrestling.
Images. Yeah. So back in the day, you know, like tapes were a big thing. You go looking for tapes. Anyway, I found an ECW tape one time at Jonesboro.
Oh my god,
is a big illegal market.
I know where this is going. Go on.
Yeah, so I have told it before, have I?
You have told it before. Go on, tell it again.
I'm going to do it anyway. Jonesboro was a big illegal market in South Armagh, and I bought this ECW tape called the Big Ass Extreme Bash. Big Ass Extreme Bash, right? And it was a compilation video of all the most extreme matches that ECW had, right? And got it, and it was fantastic. It genuinely had some great matches on it. Like, whenever I think of ECW, that's what I think of. But me mother, we had a video shop in the town in Crossmaglen, and my mother took the video out of the video player, didn't check what it was, and she just put it back in the video rental box and returned it to the, thinking it was whatever video we had rented at the weekend. I don't know, it was the 90s, Dances with Wolves or something, whatever it was. And then I was like, where's me ECW? Where's me ECW VHS con, blah, blah, blah. So I had to go into the video store in Crossmaglen, a very small town of about 1,100 people that I live beside, where everyone knows each other, and ask for my tape back. And they were like, oh, yes, we got your tape.
Oh, my God.
What? Oh, thanks very much. And your woman who was working behind the counter took it out of the box, and the sneer she gave me and handed the tape back to me. And I looked down at it, and it was only then that I realised that the Big Ass Extreme Bash is too long of a name to put on a VHS cassette. So what the VHS cassette says is Big Ass Extreme, and then an 18 logo.
Oh,
underneath it. And I was like, this is a wrestling tape. I'm sure. I was like, this is a wrestling tape. This is actually, and behind the counter they had a TV with a VCR, and I was like, put this on now. Like, put it on. Put it in. It's a wrestling. I'm not putting that on. Put it on. It's a goddamn wrestling tape. Put it on. And I never rented another VHS again. I just sat at home until Netflix was invented.
Oh my god.
Sorry,
It's the
Denny
best
listeners, if that's the second time you've had to sit through that. But I'm still not over it. I'll probably bring it up again at some stage.
story. And if you were that woman working behind the counter, now you know the story.
Yeah, and if you were that woman working behind the counter, fuck you. Put the tape on.
Maybe she got educated after that and started watching. Maybe she went home and what year was it? Like 2000 and
Maybe she had put it on and she's like, big ass extreme. Ooh, nobody's around. I'll stick it on. It's like,
yeah, maybe.
oh my god, what these young people think is sexy is deranged.
Those men are bleeding on each other. What's going on? Oh my god, that's amazing. So, Martin, my question would be: would you want to watch this again, or would you recommend this to your friends or your enemies?
I would definitely recommend it to my enemies. I would recommend they watch it the opposite of you. I'd recommend they watch it in half speed. 6 hours.
Make the pain go on longer.
6 hours with this sound on. So you have to listen to AJ Styles say he hit him not 3, but 10 times. Yeah, definitely recommend it to my enemies. I would make car bombs of this.
Oh my god.
Strategically plant them around Britain and they would go off, but instead of exploding, it was just a huge screen would pop up and everyone would have to watch Hardcore Justice 2010.
And do you think
we'd have a united Ireland by the end of the week?
And do you think that Tommy Dreamer should have been happy saying goodbye after this?
I think, like I said at the start, I understand Tommy Dreamer's motivations. So there's such thing as a noble failure, right?
A noble failure.
What WCW, what WWE did to like the WWE ECW thing was horrendous. Like,
but do you think it was better than this, though?
I mean, it was longer.
I mean, we watched grown men bleed on each other for no real reason. We watched grown men go over and, like, give a hug to these little children and then proceed to bash each other's heads in and then hug afterwards. Scarring the children.
All in reference to
something that happened
WWF
on the WWF show, which they were apparently upset about.
Look, like I get Tommy Dreamer's motivations. I get that he wanted to give ECW a final send off. But look, if there is something I really cared about, really loved, and I thought its memory had been tarnished or misrepresented by somebody else, and I wanted to give it its own goodbye, even if it was an unofficial goodbye, what I would do is I'd say, here's this thing I love, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to plan it out, and even if we can't get the rights, even if we can't get the names, even if we can't get all the people, I'm going to take the time, I'm going to call in every favor, I'm going to, pull every string, I'm going to get everyone I can involved in this, and we are going to give this thing I love the send-off and the tribute it deserves. I would not go, and I'm going to do it on Tuesday. Yeah.
in Florida.
And it's going to happen in 4 days. Like I say, the motivation was fine. The execution was not only terrible and dreadful, the execution was like masochistic. It was Sabu beating himself. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
He got to say goodbye.
Yeah. In the worst way possible. It's like, I want to say It's like if you're dying, you're like, I want to say goodbye. Just send me back, God. Send me back for 5 seconds. I just want to say goodbye to all my family and friends. And then God sends you back for 5 seconds, and you open your eyes and you're surrounded by all your family and friends, and you just shit yourself and say up the Confederacy, and then you die.
This is like bury me with my do-rag.
It's like the final solution. Just like you were given a chance and you fucked it up.
If anyone knows why Bubba Ray was wearing a Confederate do-rag, please let us know, because we don't know. Because we don't know.
Why Bubba Ray from New York, which is very much in the north,
some would say
was wearing a do-rag with his black tag team partner.
Some would say they were on complete opposite sides of the Civil War, New York and the Confederacy. But
it's Brother Devon and Brother Ray versus Goldberg and Heidenreich.
In a who has the more confusing tag team partner match.
Now, who will betray who first match?
Questionable political beliefs match. Oh my god!
It was just, and the worst thing is that it was all weirdness and low points. So we've got all these really weird things we can pick out, and then between all the really weird things, we're just very average, very 2.5 stars. You know, could have been happening on any indie show anywhere in the country at any time matches.
But you know what? They got to say goodbye.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes even if you don't get to say goodbye, isn't it better to just die and leave people with good memories?
That's it. Yeah. It's like, look at Ric Flair, right? If Ric Flair had retired with Shawn Michaels,
oh my God,
amazing. If or even more recent, if Shawn Michaels had stayed retired instead of going to Saudi Arabia and blowing his knees out, it's like
while Kane dropped his wig and Triple H forgot how to do an Irish whip.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, you know, sometimes you don't need to come back. You know,
it's like, you had your moment, and particularly with Flair, it's like, lad, you were on top for 30 years. Like, let it go. It's time to, you know, like, you were big in like the 80s and the 90s, and like, you don't need to be wrestling in 2020.
No, nobody wants to see that. Look, ECW, for what it was, as you said, I think you said this, you know, very succinctly at the start. ECW watching it is like The Undertaker. The memories and the video packages are going to be so much better.
Yeah.
Than watching it.
So now, yeah.
You know,
definitely.
And what makes it worse is when they did do the video packages for this, you know, the best part of it was before the show even started. I would say all they should have done is just played that little intro package and then just ended the show. There you go.
Well,
everyone would have been happy with it.
What I would have done is had Hard Justice and this amazing card that they had for Hard Justice, like this awesome looking card that they had for Hard Justice. And then the next week on Impact, I would have taken the last 4 matches of this abomination and just called it like TNA Extreme Impact, blah, blah, blah.
That's like, pretty good. That's actually pretty good.
And that would have been great. And people would have tuned in for that. And
everyone would have had a good time. They could have brought Dixie in, had some beers, you know. But I think this just wasted everybody's time. I don't know, man. I just like...
The other thing is the Dudley's, Axel Rotten and Cojones match was a South Philadelphia street fight.
Yes.
Why? Why not?
Because that's where the ECW arena was.
But it's Philadelphia, like
Yeah, but it
a
was
Philadelphia street fight. Why does it have to be
yeah, but it
a
was
Philadelphia street fight? Why does it have to be South?
because that's where the arena was.
Is Philadelphia split into?
No,
like,
I don't. I think that's just because specifically it was on the south part of the city.
but is that like so? Like I'm from Armagh,
Hmm.
and Armagh and South Armagh are very different things. South Armagh is very rural, like it's got its whole own identity. So if you had a South Armagh street fight, that would make sense. But is South Philadelphia different from North Philadelphia?
I think it might be rougher. I'm not too sure. I mean, tell you what, guys, let us know if you're in the know about the geography of Philadelphia. Please let me know,
Yeah.
because we'd appreciate that. But I'm assuming
any Philly fans out there.
actually, you know who would know? You know who would actually know? Dave would know.
Dave
Dave would 100% know.
is the bottom half of a Philly cheesesteak rougher than the top half?
Here's what we're going to do, folks, right? We're going to ask Dave, because he's not here, and we can't speak for him. We're going to actually get his thoughts and opinions on that question, and we will report back next week. Because these are questions that two Irish lads do not know.
Just don't feel qualified to.
No,
to
we just don't.
answer.
No, we don't feel qualified to talk about it. We'll talk about other things.
Maybe Dave, while we're bringing Dave in to sort of like answer all our problems, maybe he can finally like give us the lowdown on what Mick Foley's kink about being a special guest referee is. Do you think he goes back to the wife at night and sticks on a referee's top and is like, we're getting down to business tonight.
They just puts the shirt on her, or he wears it.
No, he wears it and he's like, I'm going to call this right down the middle.
And she's just wearing the JR hat.
Bag on, you bastard! Bastard! Have you got no hole?
I mean, you know what, right? I miss JR calling wrestling like that, where you just go on hinge.
Oh, yeah.
It was just the best.
And it's so like, so
It's
it's still
visceral.
on. They've taken him off Dynamite, like he's only on Rampage now. And even when there's pay-per-views, they only bring him out for like 1 or 2 matches. And like on the one hand, it kind of makes me sad because genuinely for me, JR is the voice of wrestling.
He is.
But at some stage, you have to accept that. Yeah, he's not quite himself anymore.
No.
And he's not anywhere near King. He's not anywhere near what's her
Mark Madden.
yeah, he's not anywhere. He's not even remotely on the Mark Madden grunt scale. But nowadays, whenever he does like a real animated thing, it's like everybody's like, "Back out! Have you got no heart? Have you got no soul, you bastard?" It's like a back out! Energy! What a lovely lady! like, all right, JR. Like, she is a very lovely lady, but you don't need to say that.
Speaking,
Yeah.
there's one thing missing on the show actually tonight. With the exception of the gangsters questionable segment, I'll leave it at that. We didn't get any Mark Madden moments. We
Was
didn't
Mark
get any
Madden
King
in
moments.
ECW?
No, he wasn't.
No,
he
was
wasn't.
he?
We didn't get any King moments. Who actually showed up in ECW? So
Yeah, well, you'd have to have a women's match for there to be.
that's true. There was no.
It wasn't a single women's match on the whole thing.
No.
The only women in the whole show were Tommy Dreamer's wife and children,
No.
who he
No,
got
no.
bludgeoned in front of.
No. There was the best segment of the night
Oh,
where
yes.
Francine was feeding the baby.
And then the other,
And then the baby was also there.
yeah, and then
and
the
then-
other awkward rape,
There was
not rape segment.
There was Madison Rain and there was Angelina Love talking about promotions that they probably didn't even watch. So,
Oh, I definitely loved PCW. PCW was the best. I really like that Sagu. Sagu was phenomenal. No. But he wasn't the patch on the old Cactus Crack. I loved Cactus Crack.
Oh man, PJ Palacco, he should come back. He should be on Impact. He should be on AEW.
Yeah, as PJ Palacco.
PJ Palacco.
Fuck Just Incredible. PJ Palacco. But genuinely, some of the ones that they were talking to, like, it looked like they'd never heard of the fucking.
No,
they'd never heard of it before.
No, Kazarian was sitting there and he was speed reading like a champion. I mean, hire him for any movies if you have, because.
But he's the weirdest one because he should have known. He was around at the time.
Oh man,
it's just the most bizarre. Like we say, none of the matches are great. None of the matches are so bad that it's terrible. But none of the matches are worth watching. But absolutely. Every single segment between matches, if you're into the Twilight Zone,
that's the best. It's gold.
Definitely.
I mean, if you
definitely,
none of the matches are worth watching, with the exception of the 2-way dance. That's actually pretty good.
And I would say, if you're an ECW fan, the RVD Sabu match, like I say, has a very weird, uncanny valley thing that you might love or hate, but you'd be interested in either way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But definitely watching the in-between bits where it's this David Lynchian bizarro, where it's like, Counter Earth from the comics, where it's like everything's kind of just weird, and that's what it feels like you've just kind of like stepped into, where you're like, what is this? Whoa. Like, yeah, as you said, it feels like they literally walked into Francine's kitchen and she's like, all right, I'll put the tea on. And then they start filming her. It's like, okay, I guess we're doing this.
It's like that meme where time travelers try to find out what world they're in or what year they're in. So the meme is the same 4 panels, but you put your own, obviously like any meme, you put your own story on it. But it's like, so they'll land somewhere and they'll go, hey, who's president? And the guy will shout back, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And the other guy will go, oh, we're in the wrong world. It's like that if the time travelers landed in Philadelphia and they were like, hey, who runs ECW? Dixie Carter. It's like, let's get out of here. We're in the wrong timeline.
Let's get out of here. Why can't I see Universal Studios out the window?
I love that whole Universal Studios thing. Like, I wonder, did they pretend that this is part of the experience? Oh, you've been to Universal Studios? Yeah, do you know the final ride is the Final Solution pay-per-view. It's happening right now.
Get on this bus and we'll take you there. And you're like,
oh, you like roller coasters? You should get on this bus. We'll take you on a roller coaster
of emotions.
We should actually do like a. So you can go on the FBI's website and you can search for missing people, and we should check. There's like 1,500 people missing around. Like, do they go to these ECW shows, these Impact shows, and they're never seen again?
No, here's the thing. I can vouch that there's one lad that went to all of them.
Oh yeah.
So he kept coming back. So he would watch the show and then leave and then come back, and he just do that all the time. I don't think he had a job.
Well, like you were saying, they were free to go to. So
exactly. I mean, what else are you going to do in Florida? I mean, you can do anything else. Literally, there's so much to do in Orlando, Florida. But that's what he did. So, oh man, Impact. And you know what? I've got to glad this was your first exposure to it, and probably a lot of people listening who maybe have never been exposed to TNA but heard me talk about it.
I don't think this is a fair.
No, I hope now when I say something or I get like Vietnam flashbacks for something on AEW, you now understand why.
Yeah, I don't think this is a fair representation of TNA.
You know what?
I'm not saying TNA was great, but this seems harsh.
You know what though? This isn't the worst thing TNA have ever done.
I know, but if someone had said to you, it's like, I'm thinking about getting into TNA, like, what would you recommend as a pay-per-view that
Not this.
encompasses TNA?
Not this.
Definitely not this. It's like when you were talking about earlier, like, if you're trying to get someone into ECW, the best thing would be to show them One Night Stand. And I'm like, yes, but also it would be very dishonest because the rest of it is not like that.
But you know what's funny though? So, spoilers. Lessons were not learned with this. So they decided.
They never are.
No, so TNA learned, right, maybe giving over our entire show to a brand we didn't create and being so far away from what we did create is bad for us. A couple of years later, they'd bring in Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff, who would complete the process of completely destroying TNA wrestling by making it literally WCW. So that's when the wheels completely fell off and they were just pushing it across. And it probably would have to kidnap people from Universal to be like, come on, with like Candy, to be like, come on, we need people here badly. There's just a line of candy to be like, come on, there's the Hogwarts. There's the Hogwarts
wrestling. Get in the van.
There's like the Hogwarts Express in Universal now. They just like have like an Impact Express. It's just a sad broken down bus.
You send the people getting the Hogwarts Express, and you send Abyss out to like hijack it and drive them round the corner.
Yeah, but that's a whole other thing. I mean, I'm waiting for the moment where we're watching something and you're like, oh, I really wish to get the WCW lads to go and do a WCW show. And
you think I haven't learned my lessons?
Exactly.
Oh, God, man, like the prime eras of WWF and WCW. If only we could have like a wrestling promotion that was run by Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. That's
what I want.
Oh, that's what I want to see.
And I'll just be waiting to be like, well, Martin, here we go.
No, I've learned my lesson.
Well, that's folks. I hope you all have learned your lesson. That sometimes it's okay to say goodbye. It's like the song, so long, farewell. Fida saying goodbye, from Sound of Music.
That's like you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you fucking deserve.
Exactly. So, folks, next week, actually, we're going to have a guest on soon, which is we're going to have 2 guests on, actually. Not going to reveal who it is yet, but I think
It's Punk. It's for everyone listening.
It's Punk.
Tell your friends, tell your families, listen in, get subscribed to the Patreon. It's Punk.
Martin is going to fight Punk in audio form. You won't be able to see it.
Yeah, pure audio.
You just have to hear it.
And it definitely will not be pre-recordings of Punk audio by me, followed by me going, Whoa, Charles Montgomery Punk.
Cookie Monster Punk, take this. So yeah, and then after, so we're taking next week off, but we're going to be either having our guests on or we're going to go back to our timeline. So I think we have one more Cyber Sunday pay-per-view left.
Yeah, so whatever, I don't mind, different guests, we can do whatever, but we have to finish the story. We started this Taboo Tuesday thing and we've been right through it, so we've only one more to go and we need to finish the arc.
Absolutely. And then I don't know what the arc after that is. I think we'll have a think about it.
It's going to be the Mick Foley guest referee.
We've already done that. I mean, anywhere we end up, he just shows up. He's like Forrest Gump. He just shows up at all these events.
We'd be like, all right, we're gonna break the cycle. We're gonna do the Memphis Mid-South Wrestling 1966 to 1967 arc. And the next thing we watch is go, Miss Foley's baby boy would like to be a special guest referee. It's like, what's going on?
This is a toddler walks out.
It's
referee shirt. Which wouldn't even make sense. Oh man. All right, folks. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this extended edition of the show. Again, we had to cover most of it after the watershed because of the jokes.
DNA.
Of the jokes. But actually, Martin, before we go, were there any Buckley on the show for you?
Oh, there's a good one. Any Buckley? I mean, yes. PJ.
Oh, PJ Palaco. Oh,
Full on.
Oh, the best.
Full
Buckley.
on Buckley.
But he won a title. He was the ECW champion.
Yeah, but
That doesn't count.
as just incredible, wasn't he?
That's okay.
Actually, a Buckley that's a Buckley I love. Brother Runt, Spike Dudley.
Here, actually, hold on. Before we move away from PJ Palaco, he was in a stable with X-Pac.
Oh,
X Factor.
X Factor, yeah.
With
You know
Albert.
I'm talking about that X Factor.
And then they had like the Uncle Cracker song. What were they thinking?
Remember that?
Oh man, that was worse. They should have went back to make some noise.
Sax Pac makes some noise. What? It's like, have you heard that?
Oh my god, I have another tier.
Rainstorm, Green Needle. Have you heard that one?
I have actually.
Yeah, it's like that.
I have another tier for the Patreon, the PJ Palaco tier.
Oh, €400.
I don't know what it's going to be, but that's
Just-
what the new
just a-
tier.
Just incredible tier, €4. PJ Palaco tier, €400. €500 if you want the That's Palaco bonus.
PJ Palaco is the real star. Just incredible. Who? Justin who?
Just.
Oh man, that's who I want to interview. If anyone knows PJ Palaco, we want them on the show.
But definitely, if we're going to have looking at the whole show, if I was going to have a Buckley, PJ Palaco, or Blue Tilly.
Who actually is not the Blue Meanie, and I thought he was.
There you go. Honest to God, for about 90 seconds in the middle of this show, folks, I genuinely thought me and Dara were doing a bit where we were like pretending we didn't know that the Blue Tilly wasn't the Blue Meanie.
What can I say? They got me. They got me.
And Dara.
I agree. I think I'm gonna join you with that. PJ Palaco and the Blue Tilly get Buckley status for life, but not just incredible though. Just incredible doesn't get it. On
No.
Palaco.
Not just incredible.
No.
And remember at all times that like things can always be worse. So even if you're watching this pay-per-view thinking, oh my God, this is terrible, things can always be worse. Because if fate had been different, instead of watching this, you would have been watching Kurt Angle and AJ Styles in a retirement match, the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money in a 2 out of 3 falls World Tag match, and Rob Van Dam versus Abyss in a ladder match. So praise be that you were spared.
You know, one of the best matches I've ever seen in person was AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle in a 60-minute match.
Oh,
amazing! It was
no
amazing.
doubt.
It
I
was
have
actually
no doubt.
incredible.
Zero doubt that would have been unbelievable.
It was the first time TNA came to Dublin, and it was in the National Stadium, and it was one of the best things I've ever seen. 60 minutes.
What? Two of the best wrestlers ever?
Ever.
Yeah. Obviously, it was brilliant.
So,
Yeah.
instead of that, folks,
Stevie Richards versus PJ Palaco.
that's what we got.
That's what you got.
That's what
you got on the bus at Universal Studios for.
You know what I feel sorry for? I feel sorry for like the parents that the kids were like dragged them to it, and they're like, "Oh my God, what's this?" And it wasn't even like a good like Impact show where at least you get something. It was just people bleeding on each other for no reason, and then hugging each other later.
Yeah, and they weren't even bleeding on each other till halfway through the Extreme show.
I'm so extreme with fake lightsabers.
Talk about Extreme. For 10 years, for 10 years, the Philadelphia promotion was the definition of extreme. Men lived and died in the ring, and now here's here's Tony Luke to do a dance in the middle of the ring.
Oh, well, look, it's done. We did it. It's in the books. Next week, again, we're taking the week off, and then we're going to be back on our arc, our Orbit guests. We'll let you know on social media. But again, if this is your first time checking out the show, thank you so much. Go over to wrestlingrewind.com, subscribe to the podcast, give us an X-Pac Euro, join the PJ Palaco tier, which I don't know what it'll get you yet, but it'll get you something. And
get you exactly what you deserve.
Exactly. And PJ Palaco, you'll get the joy of PJ Palaco in your life.
Give us a Tommy Dreamer dollar.
Tommy Dreamer dollar. Or as we call them here, crying Tommies.
Crying, throw us a crying Tommy.
A crying Tommy. And of course, we'll be back here on Phoenix 92.5 FM and the True Penny channel. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
I've literally nothing left to say about any subject on anything.
He's just sorry that Drunken Him said that he wished for it.
I'm considering becoming a pioneer. Do you know when you have when you hear about alcoholics going like, and that was the moment I knew I needed to quit drinking. I woke up beside the, I woke up in a sewage tank. The only company I had was the slowly floating downward facing body of my ex-wife. And that was when I knew I needed to quit drinking. This might be my sewage tank.
This is it for you. When I woke up and I saw Tommy Dreamer crying, that was.
And then the announcer come out and said, "Up next, Stevie Richards versus PJ Palaco," and that was when I knew I hit rock bottom.
When I saw Blue Titty, I knew I had to change things.
PJ Palaco, I decided to give up the drink, and then when PJ Palaco come out, I decided to give up the smack as well.
Well, folks, on that note, we will talk to you next time on the Wrestling Rewind. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.